I saw a white candle on a black field, a sword held against darkness.
But how did you know this was where you should go?
Ah, I followed the light, of course.
For too long, a shadow has gripped the land. And we have stood by, paralyzed by fear and doubt. For those who dream of a better world, the time has come to open our eyes, to rise up and join together. To reclaim what is ours. And declare with one voice, our time is now.
What you just witnessed was the launch trailer for Guild Wars 2. It released right around when the game was nearing its release date and did some kind of interesting stuff. As you can tell, it was live action, which feels very strange. The live action sequences clearly feel quite disconnected from the game itself. I think the idea of the plaster and the molding is the idea that Guild Wars 2 was a game breaking the mold. But you'll notice from that trailer that they released right at the end as the game was coming out, they did something quite amazing. They showed the final boss. The final boss, which, as the game itself presents through all 120 or so episodes of this series, we haven't seen. This isn't a game where, you know, Zhaitan appears in some of the early stories, and then he appears in some of the later ones, and then a bit later. No, they save it all for a surprise at the very end, only to have the launch trailer then show the player base what he looked like anyway. Which is really quite strange, and it put me in a weird position. I didn't know if I wanted to show you the trailer or not. But ultimately, I think you guys watching the series should be in the same position most of us in the community were in, which that we'd seen this thing, and we were looking forward to seeing it in-game. In fact, one of the loading screens we're about to deal with here at the end of the game will also blatantly reveal what the guy looks like, which is kind of at odds with what the rest of the game was trying to do, but hey. Just before we go off to conclude our adventure though, I did want to take a second to return to Lion's Arch, and indeed we're on Tyrix. Now, as you'll know from the penultimate episode, we still don't know who exactly is going to be playing the dungeon. My reveal is not that Tyrix is the guy that's been chosen. However, there is one final feature of the game that I've saved till the end here I want to talk to you all about. That is the Hall of Monuments. So we did discuss this a while ago. The Hall of Monuments is an entire area in Tyria that you can access whose sole purpose is to give you rewards in the second game if you are a player of the first. And the way you get there is when you make a new character, you're sent a mail to teleport to the location. But that was many, many hours ago now, and our characters have lost them. If you lose that mail, you can return to Lion's Arch and speak with one of these script vendors here. You'll notice there's a hell of a lot of them. The idea behind them is they're all selling weird knickknacks and strange items from various festivals throughout the year. If you've been watching the series the whole way through, you will have seen Halloween come and go. You will have seen Winter's Day come and go, the Dragon Festival and so on. Well, these guys continue to offer vendor options for those. But over here, this guy on his own, Sartek, has some even stranger stuff, including some achievement rewards. But check it out. The Hall of Monuments, portal stone. So we're going to do it. We're going to finally go to the Hall of Monuments right at the end. I'm really excited to do this, and I decided I wanted to do it on our char, because something about that feels very special to me. Guild Wars 1 was all about humans versus Char, and it was a human hero in the original game. If you've watched my original Let's Play, you'll know all about this location where we are now. It was a human that came here. It was a human that claimed the Hall of Monuments, the Eye of the North, in the far Shiver Peaks. Look at where we are now, guys. So distant from the rest of our adventuring areas. And so it was a human that did all of that, quite often against the Char, and to 250 years later come and claim our rewards on one just feels fantastic to me. So as you guys know, I'm a big old nerd, and I played the first game a hell of a lot. I have all the rewards that are possible, so I'll show you them off at a glance, at least as we go through here. One thing that I love about this map, and look at the grand scale of it, it's freaking amazing, right? Is the Jinlai chests. So this was the old banking storage system from the original game. They're not really in Guild Wars 2. Everything's the Black Lion Trading Company and a different kind of banking system now. But as a nod back to the original, you can find this chest, and in very rare places in Guild Wars 2 you find these. It says here, this vault has been sealed with Jinlai magic. An inscription on the lid reads, talk to a Jinlai agent to activate your storage account today. Now, why this is so cool is because in the original, when you first made a new character, you had to spend some meager amount of money to access your bank in the first place. It was like a tiny gold sink. It wasn't really relevant for the game's economies anyway, but a bit of an artifice of a mechanic. Anyway, the devs decided to honor that in Guild Wars 2. We can't look in the Jinlai chest. We can't look at all of our old belongings because we haven't had the opportunity to speak to a Jinlai agent because the Jinlai aren't around 250 years later, even though that was such a minor thing in the original game. So that's something I really adore about this place. The original entrance 250 years ago was here, but you'll see it's all now caved in. Players have spent many hours attempting to break out of this map, some successfully, some not so. And there is a big map of, you know, icy areas that you can explore in the mountains, but the devs don't want you there. We're just locked to the eye itself now and can ponder its origins, who built it, but it really doesn't key into the story in any deeper way than that. There are some other things, though. You'll notice some pets around. So if we were here on Ulfric right now, he could actually tame these. There's a white raven, a black moa, obviously a prestige pet from the original game, the Black Widow, another prestige pet in their Guild Wars 2 versions. Pets were a big part of the reward system in the Hall of Monuments. I'm guessing because in the original, pets were used as a prestige reward much more frequently than they are in the sequel, and that philosophy is kind of blending over here in the Hall. These pets, though, I think are roughly identical to other equivalents that regular Guild Wars 2 people can get. So you don't have to be a Guild Wars 1 player to get the best pets in the game, basically. They're just like different skins and different variations, which is nice. So you get that. Then a couple of NPCs. Look, ghosts. And these were people we met in the original. First, we got Artificer Mullany. Welcome to the Eye of the North. Ages ago, when the Great Destroyer stirred, the Evan Vanguard held this bastion of hope and joined forces with a special hero to prevent the destruction of us all. Are you dead, we say? He says, my body may be long gone, but I continue to guard this sacred place and recognize heroes of all races. There you go, that's noble of you. So what we're looking at here, for those who don't have the nostalgia I do as we explore this, is this area, as we visit it now, and the ghosts we speak to, they were there right at the stirrings of the first Elder Dragon. And today, we're going to try and take on an Elder Dragon decisively for the first time in a long time too. So we got Mika Ferguson here.
Hello, stranger.
Any skills I once taught pale in comparison to the power you wield, hero. History will add your name to the long list of heroes who left their mark on Tyria. I'll try not to disappoint.
Good to meet you.
We got Stacey Magelson. I used to have a limitless supply of runes to trade, but after Captain Gwen Thackeray led her forces back to Ascalon, my resources dried up. Sadly, I have nothing to offer you now. So these are the NPCs. I mean, people who have watched my Eye of the North Let's Play, or even the Hearts of the North and the stuff beyond. We spoke to these guys many years ago now, but we spoke to them. It's so weird and cool to come back. Finally, you do actually get to come back to the scrying pool. This was a mystical device you could actually use to, in a way, see the future, and many central Eye of the North cutscenes took place in this room. This is where our various statues were placed, the monuments themselves, where as you got achievements and collections and items done in Guild Wars 1, you dedicated them to the hall. Well, it's all fallen into disrepair in the sequel. I mean, graphically, it looks way, way, way better than it ever did. But it's fallen into disrepair, except in the center, we do have a little pool of swimmable water here as a char we probably don't want to spend here. A rainbow jellyfish, our last pet reward. And standing on this lily pad, a very special NPC, Kim's the Historian. Now, Tyrix was on an adventure in Ebonhawk a while back, and while he was in Ebonhawk, he found lots of different pages of a book called The Founding. We read all of those out. It told how Ebonhawk was founded and its stories. Who wrote The Founding? Kim's did. This is the guy who wrote it. And so you can find him here, and I hinted at this way back. You can actually find him here at the hall. He says, I recognize the worthiness of your soul, hero. I cling to this world in order to guard these items destined for you. Centuries have passed, and you're finally here. Collect your legacy. The time has come. So this opening dialogue actually changes based on how many rewards you've unlocked. This is the final dialogue you're seeing here, where you have everything, but if you only have a little bit, he kind of tries to push you back to playing the original game a bit more. We say, what items have you been keeping? He says, they belong to a hero who earned all these relics during their life. I've waited centuries for someone to come who embodies the same heroism. You are that person. I give it all to you. And we say, why are you here of all places? He says, I returned with the Ebon Vanguard when they were called to their final home in Ebonhawk. It was there that I drew my last breath. And it's true, you can find his grave there. We looked at it. He says, but I've always known that this was where I belonged. So, yes, we can then say, show me my legacy, and you get this beautiful tab, which is called PvE skins. And as we scroll through, you'll see there's all kinds of gear here that we can equip. So there's an armor set for medium, there's an armor set for heavy, and there's an armor set for light. I guess I'll show you what the heavy stuff looks like. So it's here. We're not actually going to be wearing this as we assault Arah in a second. I prefer to be in the Flame Legion stuff. It looks kind of weird on a char, but if you put this on a human, it looks like that classic, iconic Guild Wars 1 warrior-style outfit that was on the promotional material for the original game. The light stuff looks very classic Mesmery. The medium stuff looks classic Rangery. Beyond this, there's some minis. You get like this tabby cat. There's a mini Orion baby chicken. Now, we've seen a couple of Orion chickens. This is a baby chicken. Very cute. There's a rock fur raccoon here for people who like the cutesy stuff. And then there's weapon skins. Now, the weapon skins are pretty cool. A lot of them are referencing back to elite weapons from the original game, like the Stygian axe, okay? This was a Guild Wars 1 drop that people really liked, okay? The Fellblade, much more recognizable, probably. That is a very cool skin. My favorite of the lot of these that I'm actually going to be putting on Tyrix going forwards is this. The Fiery Dragon Sword. The iconic Guild Wars 1 rare skin. The replica of Sahothin and Magdea as King Adalbern and Prince Rurik wielded is actually available in Guild Wars 2, but only as a Guild Wars 1 Hall of Monuments reward. The Icy Dragon Sword can be acquired elsewhere, but the fiery one you have to get from here. And Tyrix, should he be able to take on Arah, I would love to have on the Fiery Dragon Sword going forward. And doesn't that just complete his look? Beautiful. Oh, man. So, yeah, when Guild Wars 2 came out, I spent many an hour running around on my first character, which was actually a Mesmer with Fiery Dragon Swords. And I don't use it enough these days, honestly, especially considering how, reasonably difficult it is to get, considering you need to play 2 games to get it. So there you go, the Hall of Monuments. I'm really happy to show that off at the end. Weird to realize this could have been in episode 1. Seriously. But now comes the question, the final mission. Who's going to play it? I will note Deborah's not actually in the running for this, as I don't consider her story to be truly aligned with that of the Pact commander and their dealings with Destiny's Edge and so on. But beyond that, it's fair game, really. Well, I hope while making your judgments, you guys considered all aspects of our heroes' stories.
I am a Char.
I am a Sora.
I am Sylvari.
I am Norn, hunter of the wild, born of the free and rugged Shiver Peak Mountains.
The human race once ruled Tyria.
With Golem and Gate and Arcane Crystal, we have asserted our supremacy in this land and made it our own.
We reclaimed our homeland of Ascalon, and we planted victory banners on the graves of our enemies.
The dream fills me with knowledge and is my connection to others. It is my inspiration, my guiding light.
In the far north, my people fought our greatest enemy, Jormad, a dragon of frost and snow.
I believe that a steadfast structure requires a firm foundation. I belong to the College of Statics.
I'm a soldier, a ground pounder, frontline infantry. I face the enemy head on.
I see a knight in armor, fierce with challenge. He offers me the gift of courage.
My strength is a gift from the spirits of the wild. With it, I can hold back the tide. I can move mountains. I can overcome anything that stands in my way.
I will construct the edifice of a better world. A world devoid of chaos and destruction.
I will not stop fighting until the only thing left standing on the field of battle is me.
I am summoned by the dream.
In the lodges and halls of my people, my strength will make me immortal.
This is my story.
Is my story.
Caith walked along the Dragon Brand, the wide swathe of destruction laid down by Kralkatorrik. Every once in a while, she would bend down and pull a large green crystal from the sands. "Dragon blood," she said, staring gladly at one such stone before sliding it into her pack. It was lonely work, wandering these desolate places, searching for the secrets of Kralkatorrik and the Elder Dragons. But it was even lonelier when she travelled to Holbrak, or Ratasum, or Divinity's Reach, or the Black Citadel, only to find that her one-time friends had become strangers. But they would be friends again. Someday they would join her. Someday they would fight the dragons again. Someday. So here's some fun, weird trivia. You guys will be more than familiar at this point in the series with how broken the mailing system is for telegraphing when upcoming dungeons are available, and how desynced the dungeon storyline becomes from the main storyline, since one is tied to actual progression and the other is tied to now seemingly arbitrary level thresholds. Well, I'm here to tell you today there's another casualty beyond even that. As you know, before each dungeon, usually our herald comes into contact with us. So why didn't they say anything for this final dungeon? They don't anymore. And that's because, like so often happens, in an update after the game came out, when the developers changed the forthcoming dungeon from being a real dungeon to just a story mission, the thing broke. And there's now no way in-game to receive that particular message. Especially frustrating to me, as this now missing mail is one of the few places that telegraphs the Pact's new big offensive and offers further insight beyond the general cleansing of ore as to why we're going for this assault right here, right now. Your Herald. Attack on Zhaitan. Hail, all-powerful hero. Your legend now spreads from Ratasum to the Black Citadel. Your name is toasted in Divinity's Reach and Holbrak, and your deeds are recounted in Lion's Arch and the Grove. Your experiences in ore have been a testament to others. Now, your greatest task lies ahead of you. The Pact forces have launched an airborne assault on Zhaitan himself, in his lair in the former city of the human gods, Arah. As I write this, the first airships have engaged with the Elder Dragon's champions at horrendous losses. The Pact needs every airship it can get airborne, and needs you to fight through the enemy to recover and relaunch one of their more powerful ships. I have sent word out looking for others to help, but I don't know if they will be willing to set aside their problems and help. Help strike a blow against the power of the Elder Dragons. Zhaitan can be slain, but only by the most noble of heroes. Fight for us all. And who did you all decide is the most noble of heroes? Pact. Which honestly makes me so happy. I adore Pact. It's weird because I feel like if you were to measure heroics character for character, Pact can be a harder one to put on par with the others, but that might just be a consequence of the game not stressing the naval warfare aspect of this well enough, which I hopefully have impressed upon you guys how important I really think it is, actually. And it's no surprise that so many nautical themes and elements are present in core Guild Wars 2. But anyway, so let's move on in. He's also going to be a really fun character to figure out build-wise. I've set us up onto an extremely aggressive level 80 flamethrower build. So we are explosives, we are firearms, and we are tools. We are as aggressive as we can be. Trinity. And we're also taking advantage of spamming supply crates. Basically, just some of the most fun stuff from Engineer mixed in here. I'm running the rocket turret as well, which I really enjoy. And we're staying pistol shield just because I love the skins that we've got. So yeah, Bract with the Tome of the Rubicon, arguably one of the more powerful artifacts we've gathered. In we go. So a very brief reminder now, in a previous episode we did look at these, but just to catch up again.
Cannot be known.
Outside, this Order of Whispers scout, a fellow kindred spirit of ours, says, "You made it this far, but I've got dire news. Pact forces are moving into Arah, the city of the gods. Destiny's Edge has gone in to board an airship and join the attack on Zhaitan." So, interestingly, our herald talked about trying to find help from other people, but they didn't know if they'd come. I think the idea is they're referencing Destiny's Edge there, but not using it by name. I don't know why. I wonder if the devs were thinking of doing two different versions of the final dungeon. One where you had beaten all the prior dungeons and Destiny's Edge was therefore with you, and another where they weren't with you and it was kind of like two endings kind of thing. I don't know. That's the impression I get from the mail. There's no interview or developer comment to substantiate that though, and we'll see as we go through this dungeon. It's definitely suffering from time crunch in places. There's going to be a huge amount for us to talk about there. But so Destiny's Edge is going into the city of the gods. They're together again, and I should say the city of the human gods. Story goes that when the gods first gave magic to humans, they settled here. The gods left, and Zhaitan took over. Have you heard how they plan to take on the Elder Dragon? I'm not sure. They're pressing with every available airship, and I hear that the Pact has been working on a special weapon that packs a wallop. A special weapon. Well, we heard some engineers talking about a glory of Tyria, but it wasn't ready. We saw some captains of an airship called the Humble. I'm not sure we've heard of much else, though. Obviously, we know a lot about the Elder Dragons now through Professor Gore's research. Maybe we can apply that in some way, but we're still somewhat in the dark here. What can I do to help? Well, head into the ruined city of the gods, but I don't recommend going in alone. If you're smart, you'll take 4 others with you to watch your back and flanks. Once you're in, you'll find the others there. Truth is, though, now it's totally soloable. This is not a formal dungeon anymore, as I've mentioned on several occasions. Our objective to locate Caith within the ruined city of Arah. Now, you might think that this is about to become some big story step for us to locate Caith. It's actually not. We find her really quickly, and I wonder if this was one of the things the devs wanted to expand on at some point, but never did. So, would we like to continue our story? Victory or death? Hell yes, we would. And here we can see on the loading screen is an image of Zhaitan, the Elder Dragon of Death. Just like the launch trailer, this is another thing that kind of just spoils his appearance. And this one's in-game. I can understand the left hand not knowing what the right was doing in terms of marketing, sure. And that in that way, the trailer ends up showing the dragon. But to have it on the loading screen too? Doesn't this completely, like, ruin... Well, maybe not, because the loading screen is just concept art. Interestingly as well, to linger on the loading screen just a bit more, this concept art for Zhaitan is actually very different to the depictions we saw of him rolling in the earlier days of pre-release. So, for example, the very first trailer, what this series opened with, showed what was supposedly Zhaitan, a dragon on a perch, spreading his wings. Well, this concept art looks very different to that original image of Zhaitan we saw, right? Which is used, actually, in-game in several places we're about to see. So, the devs clearly had been working on it a long time. There are various interviews about the multiple mouths idea. Well, we'll see how that all worked out when we actually get in-game here to the dragon eventually. So, down the slope we go. And into the story mode. I'll note that when you load into the map, you actually spawn like here, which cuts off a pretty cool area, honestly. And indeed, there's this hole, which I find somewhat interesting. Remember how in Fort Trinity, we saw there were 5 NPCs and a suggestion of 5 explorable paths for this dungeon? I actually think that the final path was probably going to start in this hole here and go down beyond these ghostly torches. I'm kind of giving you half of a trivia bomb. I'll have to finish at a later date. But this definitely looks like it was going to be a planned dungeon area for explorable. And when you notice we actually go to explorable later, this is all just disappears mysteriously. I think probably because they never wanted to implement Path 5. But yeah, we'll look at that more later. It's still kind of there, but in other ways it's not. The actual cinematic way we were supposed to walk, oh, we can't do it anymore, is across this beam that's fallen down. And as we move through the storm, through the rain, it's going to be pretty miserable here, guys, and it's not going to be easy. We find an airship lingering above. I love the way it's lit here. There's just this weird spotlight shining toward it. And this is just one airship of, as far as we can tell so far, tons. Very exciting. As you move forwards, there are actually a ton of abominations that come through. and start attacking this encampment, which the Pact are trying to defend from. They have cannons set up. You see this one's actually taking a lot of damage. We've got lots of vigil marksmen and so forth. When we get too close, though, a cutscene will trigger as soon as the A-bombs are dead and you speak to Caith. So here, we can take out these brutes. I guess these are just infinitely spawning mobs now after the original Abomination fight. But you'll notice Destiny's Edge are here, and they can handle it all on their own. Perfectly fine. There we go. There's another A-bomb, actually. It looks like he's just charging into this wall, so we'll have to clear him out. Everyone is designed such that if they're in combat, you can't speak to them. It's just like how Guild Wars 1 was structured. So I am going to kill them just for the sake of completionism. But in truth, since they're not in combat right now, I could have, like, snuck to the side and actually ignored these guys altogether. I just don't want anyone dying in a cutscene or anything being too weird. And besides, being a badass at endgame with a flamethrower, destroying A-bombs, I mean, who doesn't like roasting those? Here you go. So Air just got it in combat. So, yes, we can speak to Caith straight away and trigger actually 3 cutscenes back-to-back, seriously. Or we can speak to the other members first, which is actually what I want to do. So let's just try and get this clean now. Zhaitan does not like us here, apparently. And see what we've got. Well, first of all, Air, the leader. Hey, Air, how is it going?
The road is long. I wish you well.
She says most of Destiny's Edge has returned. Even Ritlock and Logan are talking to one another. Only one of us is missing. Ah, yes, of course. So the story so far is Zodja's not around. She said no. Another interesting thing you might want to remember from the end of the last dungeon is Ritlock showing concern for Logan's mental well-being. Ritlock, who knows Logan very well, or at least once in their lives they knew each other very well. Best friends, right? Ritlock was concerned Logan would do something brash, remember? And yes, Zodja is not here. Those are the kind of 2 lingering plot points as we start now. Even more brutes. We'll roast these guys down. Lovely. In hellfire and explosions. But yeah, so what was I saying? Most of us are here. One is missing. Who's missing, we say? And she says, Zodja. I fear she'll never forgive me for Snath's death. Oh, Bract, couldn't you have done better to convince Zodja to come? Here's hoping she comes around in time. That's all that Bract can say, and I'm sure he's more than familiar with what Zodja's like. She was so nice, again, early in the story, and she's the one that doesn't join at the end of the game. What a shame. The rest of us is still a match for anything Zhaitan can throw at us, we say, though. I guess we've got confident over the years. Moving over to Ritlock.
What do you have for me?
He wants to fight even more, so hold on, let's cleave these guys down. It's kind of funny, because most players won't appreciate this continuous onslaught that's going on here, because they'll just quickly spam into the cutscene and run on, but there's actually a whole setup here. Arah is actually interesting, I guess, in that for all the other dungeons, the lobby area at the start where you can wait to party up with your allies, there's never any danger. But in Arah, there is danger. You're constantly being pressured. Not by too dangerous stuff, but you are constantly being pressured.
Make it quick.
You'll notice we're not getting experience or loot from these, by the way. The devs, you know, this is an MMO, have to think about every time they do something like this and make sure it's not farmable via AFK activity or bots or whatever. Anyway, looks like everyone's here who's going to show. Let's get this ship in the air. Damn it, Ritlock! Well, hold on. We can keep speaking as long as we stay close to him. We can say, what do you mean? Who's not going to show? It looks like Snath's apprentice, Zodja, isn't coming. Pity. I like how he describes her as just Snath's apprentice here, because they weren't necessarily too close, and that is the more remarkable thing about her, being Snath's apprentice. For a character that witnessed all the events of 5 years ago and their failure, at least, where Snath was the big character, not Zodja. Anyway, that's too bad. What can I help with now? Well, the airship, this airship, sorry, was disabled. We need to find working power cores to get her aloft and back into the fight. Understood, I'm on it.
For me?
We can also say what needs to be done, and he says the airship was disabled. All right, so it's the same dialogue. That's fine. The last NPC who's here then is, well, hold on. Shouldn't Garm be around as well? Garm definitely is a part of this dungeon. I just don't see him nearby. Oh, no, there he is. He is there. Maybe we can actually interact with Garm. You'd be surprised how often that's actually possible. So let's roast these guys down. All right, Garm, do you have an actual dialogue box for us? It doesn't look like he does, but we'll keep an eye. Oh, no, he does. Look. Garm looks excited to have everyone gathered together again. Ready to bite some dragon minions? Well, almost everyone. So the last person is Logan here. Now, funnily enough, when I press F on Logan...
Greetings.
He doesn't have any dialogue for us. He doesn't want to speak. Now, I wonder whether this is just poor implementation because of the way he's coded for upcoming sequences in the dungeon. Or we can go the other route and say, hey, maybe he's lost in his own mind and he's still racked with guilt for leaving all those years ago with Kralkatorrik, and so he won't speak to us. Even if we were a human character right now, had Casey survived here, had Deborah experienced this story, and the stars aligned, in fact, Logan still wouldn't even speak to them. He's just silent at the start of the dungeon. Okay, cool. So that's everyone and everything. I'll note, last of all, that the actual city is up these stairs and all the way over there. But really, we want to focus on the airship to bypass all that stuff. Hey, Caith.
May you never dwell in darkness.
She says, although we did reunite most of Destiny's Edge, I had hoped our entire group would be here for this. Who's missing? Zodja. I'd hoped she would overcome her anger at Air and come along. Well, there's nothing to be done. There's no time to waste. Let's go.
Oh, we've done some scouting. It is no walk in the park.
Even with the 4 of us to help, it will be a difficult battle.
As always, Selvari, your intent is good, but your math skills are subpar.
Zodja, you've come to help?
You think I'd let you go fight an elder dragon without a proper genius?
Zodja, I need you to know something.
I know. You blame yourself for Snaf's death. I blamed you for many years myself. But I blame myself if you went in and failed, and I could have helped. Snaf would have wanted me here.
I... Thank you.
Ah.
You were saying, Caith?
Arah was once the city of the human gods. Even after the deities quit this sphere, it remained a golden, shining place. Until the folly of man sank it beneath the waves. Yet worse was still to come. The Elder Dragon awoke and pulled ore from its watery grave, and raised hordes of undead minions from the twisted wreckage. Now Zhaitan's minions infest this place. We must rise above them if we hope to confront the Elder Dragon.
We'll need every airship if we're going to succeed in this mission. We must salvage enough power cores to get this one up and into combat. If Tyria is to have any hope, we must finish what we started. We must destroy Zhaitan.
And with your help, we will. One more thing. We have to thank you for bringing us back together.
I don't know what I've done.
You have led, by word and by deed. Without your example, we would never have reunited. I tried to force them. I was wrong. You have restored us.
Are we going to get started? Or just chat Zhaitan to death?
We should stay together. The Pact can guard the airship.
Zodja is so snarky. My god, man. Wow, so much just happened there. Number one, do you guys like how in the final painterly cutscene of the game, of that style, you know, every dungeon's had one, they actually link back to the original trailer, not the launch trailer, but the original trailer, the trailer that appears in episode 1 of my series here. That's the same images of the eye opening, looking down below the depths, the dragon spreading its wings, and the dragon we see spreading its wings in that cutscene actually contradicts the dragons we saw in the loading screen. But I adore that, and the music in the background with like the chanting and the hymns, it's amazing. Getting the actual look at Vizier Kilbron. Once again, you can see another weird thing with that cutscene though, where it's like the devs never, because they were so scared of asking players to do specific things, and they went so far off the deep end about freedom with this game. They don't know what you know when you get to this dungeon. So that cutscene actually serves as a crash course discussion about what happened to Ore, even though we've probably heard that if we've been paying any attention 4, 5, 6 times already. But, you know, that was one of the things that was going on with the dungeons. The big reveal, though, Zodja does arrive. That whole story beat, I think, is lost on a lot of players. But here she is. And she will actually speak to us. She says, we don't have much time. We need to locate those power cores and get the airship operational. So we say, okay, well, what's the hurry to fix the airship? Aside from the fact we're being permanently attacked here. The Pact is launching an air assault imminently. That's why I was late joining you here. So she even had a good reason. I knew you were a good one, Zodja. She says, do you really think we can take Zhaitan by air? She says, you'd better believe it. Our huge super ship, the Glory of Tyria, was mounted with a superior weapon. Asura design, of course. So, the Glory of Tyria is the super weapon. Sorry, she said superior, not super weapon. But, yeah, this is, like, the big thing. The Asura, the members of the Pact seem to have figured out a way that they think Zhaitan is weak by air. Now, the dungeon and the story in general don't stress that enough. But later, it will basically be put that attacking Zhaitan by air is the major way to go, all right? So, good. At least they figured that out. How are you going to find the power crystals? Even though we weren't really a part of the creation of that, maybe you could say that's good because it shows that so much more was happening than just what the commander saw. How are we going to find the cores? Well, this is amazing. Look at this. I've brought along a VOED, a very old energy detector, to detect them. Given the airship losses here, it shouldn't be too difficult. And look, we could say nice invention. Can I ask one more thing? You're damn right, nice invention. Listen, guys, the number of times that Arah story mode pays respect to a personal story biography decision is exactly 1. This here, the VOED. Maybe actually there's some other small things, but that was our crew. We made this, our crew. And look, it's being used right here at the end. Oh, it's brilliant. Okay, Brack, you couldn't be any prouder. Lastly, we can say, what do you know about this place? You can actually get each member of Destiny's Edge perspective on this city. Obviously, each of a different race, they have different beliefs about it. Or understandings of it, I should say. Zodja says this, that the human gods were apparently as foolish as their worshippers, since they made their home on the resting place of an elder dragon. This is a brilliant observation for Zodja, obviously, but it's also brilliant writing because it's extremely ironic she would say that, considering the original game demonstrated the Asura of the Depths hundreds of years ago did the exact same thing. They built their central transfer chamber of Asura gates over an elder dragon. Not Zhaitan, they built it over Primordus, and they suffered the consequences of it 250 years ago and ever since. So it's amazing she says that, but, you know, is that Asuran arrogance, or is it just ignorance? Asura and ignorance? You wouldn't put those together, would you? That's an interesting perspective on the situation, we say. Maybe Brack knows better. Next we have Air. Whatever it is, ask quickly. We need to find the power cores in this haunted city and restore that airship. I love the description of this as a haunted city. I don't know what I'm more excited about playing this. Finally visiting Arah, that we've heard about so much of, even since the original game, or fighting the dragon. They're both two really cool things the devs have set up and set up and set up and set up, and now finally they're here together. Right, why is it so urgent to get the ship back in the air? She says, Pact forces are attacking Arah, and every ship counts. Very leaderly, very concise, very simple with her response. We say, do you think the Pact can succeed? She says, as long as we join the fight, I think the Pact can win. Oh, I like it. Okay, I'm with you. And we can also say, does Zodja's return mean that you two have reconciled? And she says, it's a start. Zodja actually seems happier, which is unexpected. But how do you feel about that? Like I've survived a long night of self-doubt and recrimination. Oh, you are a survivor, Air. Believe me, you can get through thick and thin. And we have seen the dark places you have been and how you've come out the other side. The strongest leaders are forged by the toughest of circumstances, and you've got that in spades there, Air. So I guess we don't actually get to ask her about Arah, but okay, let's search for these power cores. Now, we can try and speak to Logan.
I'm on duty.
But again, he has no dialogue for us. A bit of a shame. Garm still says he's excited to have everyone together again. I wish we could properly communicate with him again, you know, and actually see what he thinks. Next, though, we got Ritlock. He says, can we hurry this up? I'm itching to get back to the fight. Yeah, Ritlock, I know. You and everyone watching this video right now. Why the rush? Let's just talk about lore, man. He says, Pact forces are making a major push on Zhaitan, and we need every ship in the air. Do you think the Pact can pull this off? Definitely. They've got air support, they've got ground troops, and they've got us. So the actual ground invasion we'll see a lot of hints at soon, but we don't actually get to participate in too much. Okay, so looks like you and Logan are getting along. It's good to have the entire team back together. We need to shake off the rust, but we're more than up to this challenge. Nevermore does the game so clearly point out, you know, it's two difficulties, two pairings of difficulties. Air and Zodja, Logan and Ritlock. Like, those are the issues, and Caith is kind of the extra one. That's why I like that cutscene a second ago where Caith says, without you, they would have never got back together. And then she stops herself and she says, no, not they, we. And she sort of includes herself. But it's easy to see why Caith would feel like the odd one out, you know. She never had a problem. It's just, she's just an innocent, naive new Sylvari to the world, wanting to make friends, and then they all have these weird complications. All right, okay, you're up to the challenge. I believe you, Whitlock. You're ferocious enough. What do you know about this place? So I love his response. As a char, it's a testament to the folly of the humans and their gods. They say Arah was sacred, but all I see is one big dragon nest. Well, it hardly looks now how it used to. Let's just press on, shall we? And finally, we got Caith. She says, what is it? We really need to recover those power cores and get the airship up and running again. All right, fine. You've all nagged me enough. We'll go after this last conversation. Why is this one airship so important? She says Pact forces are starting the assault on Zhaitan. We need every ship in the air for that. They all say basically the same thing. We can say, what do you think of the assault's chance of success? She says the Pact has been readying some sort of super weapon. I sincerely hope they have it in time ready. Oh, well, last we heard it was not ready. Okay. Aren't you happy to see everyone from Destiny's Edge back together? That's beside the point, is it not? We are most effective when we combine our strengths. Still, you have to be pleased by this reunion. Yes. Yes, I think I am happy. Yeah, good to hear it. Can I ask something else that would have your attention? What do you know about this place? I am told that the human gods once lived here. I wonder if that is what drew Zhaitan to corrupt this place. And Caith asking a really cool question here, because it's possibly true that the reverse is what actually happened. The gods came here because they sensed all the magic and the source of Aura and stuff here was so rich because of the sleeping elder dragon. But isn't that just the nub of the matter? What did the gods know of the dragons? What did the dragons know of the gods? There may be a connection, but who are we to say so far? All right, okay, good. So we'll leave all of these guys here. We will go off and get the power cores. So the story actually kind of has a split now. There's 2, maybe even 3 different power cores we need to get. And I'd like to be able to make that decision for myself, which ones I go for. But we just kind of have to follow the starburst first of all. For some reason, Caith has a starburst on her, which is weird. But okay, so you see, we want to go north, and well, let's do it. So the point of interest we're already at is called the Pact encampment. And as we move north, we find a door. So, once again, this used to be a 5-man dungeon, so we're going to find certain mechanics here have been changed to be soloable. And this is one immediately, I think. So, our first objective is to kill these Risen and open the gate using the pressure plates. So, once we cleave these down, you'll notice that there's 2 pressure plates in the background near that door there, with weird glowing sparkles and lights everywhere. Destiny's Edge are actually fighting pretty well, I think. It's kind of nice to just have so many allies running around with us at all times. I feel like I got healed reasonably well by Logan there. In fact, yeah, I have Divine Radiance on me. Nice. Okay, so, right. Normally what you'd have to do is have different players standing on the plates. And then once both were weighed down, you could move on in. But now, when you play it single player, as you just saw there, you just stand on a single plate and it opens up for you. So these little things have been curbed away because otherwise it would be kind of impossible to go forward solo. I'm not really sure how I feel about those kinds of mechanics in the first place. If players want a solo 5-man content, I like the idea that they should have that possibility as much as possible. But in some explorable dungeons, we see that that's not true, and you definitely do need more than one person. Anyway, so as we move on through now, we're in this northern area, and in the distance, oh dear, a champion risen Lich. We're only going to find the biggest and baddest of enemies here, but it's okay, because we have Destiny's Edge with us. All of them. And they got the commander. So, is it going to speak as we come close? I guess not. It definitely will speak during the fight. You'll notice it's actually guarded another crashed airship here that I suppose recently has been taken out of the sky. Maybe the Lich itself knocked it out.
Foolish fleshlings, you will wither before the might of Zhaitan.
Oh, there you go. He does have a bit of dialogue. Nice. He threatens us in a way that we would expect from them. So, yeah, we'll see if we can get a power core from this wreck. Now, as we walk over to it, though, let's push this away. You'll see we actually unlock the POI, and it's got a really cool name. It's called the White Bear's Pride, guys. White Bear's Pride. Newt White Bear. There's an airship named after the guy. Now, when I first played the game, I honestly thought that these were, you know, actual sailing ships, and that there'd been a ship called the White Bear's Pride in the skies. In the sky, sorry, on the seas when ore rose underneath it. But that's obviously not true. It's an airship that the Pact have named after a very cool dude. So, I mean, that's got to make the Norn pretty happy, right? This Lich, hits really goddamn hard. Need to be very careful of him here and make sure we actually kill him. He's getting pretty low. You'll see he goes into a form as he goes low. It's called Unholy Attunement. Not really sure what that means, though, because many of the boss mechanics weren't ever implemented by the game. Oh, my God, he actually got us down! All right, I managed to rally on him.
One down. Let's get that power core.
Okay, good. Right, so with the Lich dead, we can move freely over to the wreckage. Press F and claim it for ourselves. Nice. I don't think any of Destiny's Edge's dialogue will update throughout this, by the way. So you don't have to keep running around pressing F, pressing F, pressing F. It will be the same stuff that they said earlier. Obviously, if you're playing this co-op and you missed the dialogue at the start, you could do it while you're actually out on the adventure there. But yeah, we're doing it a bit more orderly than that. Okay, cool. So that is the salvage of the White Bear's Pride airship. And we'll see an even cooler one at the second power core, I promise you guys. First, let's get on over there. All right, back at the central camp here now. Interestingly, the Vigil have permanent might on them. Look at that. I wonder where they get that from. That must be to help ensure that they don't get destroyed by all the Risen in the area. That's kind of cool. So, yeah, we got another big old Orion doorway here. Our job is actually to try and open that up. And we do that by destroying the Orion obelisks. They're on the left and right of it. Now, these things are kind of fun because they constantly spawn grubs at us, as you'll see here. No big boss just yet. If I actually try and land as much AoE around the two as possible, we can kind of double up with our skills. That might be kind of nice. But yeah, the grubs just keep spawning and spawning and spawning. You want to kind of stay away from their spit. You notice there's a little red rings around. Yeah, that can actually genuinely hurt a reasonable amount. Yeah, I suppose you could probably look at the text on the obelisks and try and translate it in some way. But I doubt there's anything too substantial actually being written on them. So yeah, we got to just take both of them out. And boom, down they go. Beautiful. We might want to take a second to clean up the remaining grubs, because otherwise Destiny's Edge might sit around fighting them for ages, when what you really want them to do is to push up with you into the next big area. Look at how open this place is. You're going to find, by the way, the map we're on right now, you might think, oh, it's a dungeon. Dungeons aren't very big. They're like small areas. This is enormous. This is like bigger than Queensdale, bigger than Gandaren Fields, bigger than the biggest maps you've seen so far. And that'll become apparent why very soon. All right, so moving on. The next boss, Champion Bloated Creeper.
Perish and rot before Zhaitan.
Lovely. You know, you guys really don't intimidate me too much anymore. I say that about his dialogue. In truth, this guy's mechanics are actually really dangerous. If you remember, the creepers are the ones that, like, blow up. Well, this boss isn't going to just immediately kill himself, but he does do very high damage. Look at his flavor text there. Deadly poison cloud, summons grubs, and finally explodes when you kill him. A bit like, you know, a Final Fantasy creature casting meteor as it dies, right? So we do want to be careful of this. Let's move on in and just see what we've got. Oh, he immobilizes a lot as well, so you want to keep the hell away when he immobs you. Moving forward, you'll notice we get another POI, and this is beautiful. We're at the end of Guild Wars 2, and we just found a wreck of an airship called the Lady Livia. Now, this is actually a huge lore bomb that I have to talk about. So, you might remember, in Guild Wars 1, the original campaign dealt all with the story of a thing called the Scepter of Ore. And at the end of the campaign, in the cutscene, they showed the Scepter of Ore disappearing mysteriously on the Fire Island chain. Its fate unknown. They took the time to actually show the scepter disappearing. Hold on, we're about to kill the creep here, so let's do that, and then we'll finish our story in a second. He's getting very, very, very low. Oh, almost got him.
It's so rotten.
There we go, nice. Oh, he blew up and killed Garm as he blew up. Oh, that's not very good. Okay, so let's clean that up. So, at the end of Prophecies, they showed the scepter specifically disappearing mysteriously. Later, at the end of Eye of the North, in the very cutscene where they established that the Sylvari were a part of Guild Wars 2, with the Pale Tree, where about the Elder Dragons, where they showed Primordial Stone, where the entire cutscene at the end of Eye of the North was setting up Guild Wars 2. Once again, mysteriously, they cut back to the Scepter of Ore, this time being held by a Guild Wars 1 hero called Livia. So, the final cutscene of the original game, showing the Scepter of Ore, showing Livia with it. Surely Livia and the Scepter of Ore are going to be a big part of Guild Wars 2, right guys? Surely they're going to have a major role to play in the destruction of the Elder Dragon of Death. Livia was a necromancer. The Scepter of Ore allowed Vizier Kilbron to manipulate the undead. Surely the devs, when 2012 rolls around and Guild Wars 2 releases, surely the devs are going to talk about Livia. Surely she's going to be in the story. Actually, welcome to the final episode. Have we seen Livia? Have we seen the Scepter of Ore? No and no. Mysteriously, any story the devs had thought about with that character or with that artifact is not in the game. It's gone. It's still a mystery at the end of the core story. Where is Livia now? Where is the Scepter of All? What's the point of all of that? Well, we don't know. But what we do know is right at the end, in the final dungeon, they give us the wreck of an airship, and it's called, when you mouse over the POI, the Lady Livia. The salvage of the Lady Livia. So what are they hinting at here? They're basically still telling us, the developers, sneakily in the background, don't forget about Livia. We didn't. She's still people still know her or think about her, and she gets a little reference here at the end of the core story. To see what they will eventually do, if anything, with that story, well, I guess we'll have to play beyond the 2012 story. But wow, what a mind blow, and what an incredible thing to see right here in this dungeon. Such an exciting point of interest. And that's not the only super exciting point of interest in this dungeon, believe you me, guys. It's full of really cool stuff. All right, so anyway, here's the wreckage. We can grab the power core. And yeah, move away from the salvage of the Lady Livia. Wondering who was it? Was Livia on this? There's no bodies around. Who was the captain? Why was it named as such? Who knows? All right, so we move on now. We've now got 2 power cores, and we've got to collect our third. So one of the power cores makes you move north of the camp. That was the first we got. The next makes you move south. That was the second we just picked up. Both next to, airship wrecks. Now the last wreck for the third power core is actually behind the camp, moving closer towards the city, which is a really interesting area of the dungeon, and I'll explain why. Most of the time, when you play a story dungeon, you beat it, you get the explorable one. The explorable dungeon is like the exact same place mechanically in engine. It's just there's different stuff going on. However, for Arah, because this mission we're playing right now is so special and big and grand and badass and amazing, the area we're traveling on right now, though it looks like explorable Arah, it's actually not. So as we walk along here, anyone who farms that dungeon in explorable will realize this place looks a bit weird. It looks a bit like the explorable mode, but not actually like the explorable mode. Like, people familiar with that other stuff will know that there should be stairs here, and there should be a passage to the left and a passage to the right. But it's kind of all odd. It's like a weird alternate reality Elseworld experience we're in right now. And I've always kind of really liked that about Arah's story. Something a lot of people who only play once or twice kind of miss. We're actually in a weird spoof of the dungeon, not the real dungeon, as far as explorable is concerned. Anyway, once we got the 2 power cores, we can walk to this final door, and it will open up, presenting our next challenge. So this area is kind of interesting. You get these Orient eyes. Now, this isn't the first time we've interacted with Orient eyes, but these are the most dangerous of them we've seen so far. When you get close, as you can see, they spam these little projectiles at you like mad. So what you want to do is stay away and DPS them from range, or throw reflects out so that they kill themselves. An added complication to these eyes and getting too close to them is the tunnel is filled with these red circles, obviously. And in the middle of them are locusts that will apply bleed and damage to you over time. Now, that's not actual physical damage. It doesn't print it in the combat log, but it's high pressure. So just go very carefully through this hallway. The dungeon, even though it's now solo and it's scaled down, so it's not meant to be as hard as it used to be, it can still kill you very, very, very quickly. And this is one of the more dangerous areas. So be cautious and hope Destiny's Edge don't get ripped up too much by the ambient damage. They'll, of course, help to blow the stuff up if you can get them to aggro in. It can just be a little bit tricky sometimes. There's this cool side passage here. Wow, look at this. All right, anyway, so as we move forwards, you've got a Risen Knight. This is our next boss. Of course it's got to be a Risen Knight. These are the biggest badasses you find in all, even beyond the A-bombs. They're like the highest rank. So he's got dives, fire trail, and reflect projectiles. Actually, a lot of cool mechanics.
Zhaitan will consume your world.
All right, so Zhaitan will consume our world. I'm sure he will. So I kind of want to try and break his break bar if I can. But even if it's not possible, just try and hammer him with as much damage as you can. And that gives him less time to use his skills and really hurt you. So there, that's the fire trail. Fire trails really hurt if you go anywhere near them. Actually, I forgot how dangerous this guy was. This is really, really, really scary right now. Oh, God. Must just do as much damage as possible and stay away from the fire trails. That's the entire game here. And then as soon as he bows down to, like, into his shell, if you can break his break bar, that's just kind of free time to damage him. Oh, God. The worst thing you can do in this fight is be standing with your back to a wall so that when he uses the fire trail, he slams all of the packets of damage into the wall that you're also happening to be on. That's pretty terrible.
That last core. That should be enough to get the airship aloft.
Oh, okay, definitely one of the harder bosses. And yeah, sweet. Okay, cool. So this wreck, as we come towards it, is the salvage of the reunites dream. So look, we get a cool human thing, we get a cool Norn thing, and a cool Sylvari thing. Reunic. Oh, man. It feels bad, but that's the kind of hero you probably would want to actually honor in time, right? It's a cool little glimpse back at some of the earlier story and some of the most important history for the Sylvari as well, I suppose. So, nice little way for the devs to make us think about other areas of lore while we're here in Arah, the things that are important to the Pact through the way that they name their airships. And with the 3 power cores, we can go back to the camp and get our ship into the sky. It doesn't bode too well, does it, that we want to go into the sky and it looks like all these other people that have already been up there are just getting shot down immediately. Is this really that smart? Well, probably yes. And in fact, I have to say, I was so excited when I first played the game to get onto one of these airships and actually be on one in flight, as they've teased to us so many times throughout the story. I couldn't wait.
Get these installed and we can get aloft.
Captain, already an undead sighted. They're coming in fast.
Blast! Hold them off while we finish installing those cores. Cast off. We're lifting off.
Line 1, cast off.
Line 2, cast off.
Line 3, stand by. The witch is broken. We can't cast off. Blast!
All right, cool. There's a beautiful animation there as we actually are going up.
We're stuck. Someone has to stay behind to release the airship.
I'll do it.
No, Logan, we can't split up. Not this time.
Long ago, I failed all of you. I left you behind to fight. Now you need to leave me behind so you can carry the fight forward.
You don't have to do this.
Yes, I do. For all of you, and for myself.
Fine, but if you get yourself killed, I'll hound you into the mists.
Wait, Logan, what? That's not according to the plan.
Form up on me!
Yes, they're basically setting up here. I think a bit of the instance might have been cut out, where we were supposed to defend from loads of Risen and get a sense of this being really dangerous. But instead we just get this cutscene. Now, if you look at Logan there, he is swarmed by A-bombs. Extremely dangerous. And the idea right now is he cannot have survived that there. He has basically sacrificed himself there to get us off the ground.
He had to stay behind, for all our sakes.
To atone for his mistakes of the past. Truly crazy. So by Logan, we had an adventure with all of Destiny's Edge, and once again they split up. I don't kind of like how he ends up denying Air's authority as leader straight away. But yes, the foolish, brash thing we think he might do, well, he turned out to do it. Here we are on the airship. Now there's so much going on because we're actually moving. If I come out...
Lose him. Not after coming back together.
If I actually come out here, you will see when we look, we are actually in flight, guys. Look at this. This is where we started with the beacon and stuff. We're leaving.
We have lost him again. Can we survive this?
And off into the mysterious unknown towards the dragon's nest. Now, everyone's really sad here, and this is quite a big story beat, so I do definitely want to speak to everyone. We get a repair anvil in case we start dying a lot here. Let's move up and actually speak to Destiny's Edge.
A good death, but too soon.
Sorry to interrupt, but we've sighted gigantic minions of Zhaitan up ahead. Battle stations, prepare for combat.
Okay, so they're going to want us to fight and do stuff.
I'm taking the ship in. Get ready.
I'm hoping we could just wait and speak to these guys for now first. So let's see. First, Ritlock says, Logan's not dead. I can feel it in my bones. We say, I don't know, Ritlock. He was overwhelmed by the Risen back there. Listen, Logan's the most foolish, but also the bravest and most combat-savvy human I've ever known. He'll find a way out. So Ritlock doesn't actually believe he's fully dead right now. I like his shout there that he'll go into the mist. Yeah, like we'd see a Char go into the mists after a human. I believe you. We might need to fight on even without him. And Ritlock says, yes, but mark my words, he'll pick the worst possible moment to show up. He's a master of timing that way. All right, if you believe so. Zodja, what do you think? Is Logan gone? Blast it! We worked so hard, and then Logan had to go and throw his life away. Wow, you seem sure he didn't make it. The odds aren't good, poor Buka. You'll see that the ship is shaking. It's because there's actually a fight out there right now. Our group won't fight on alone. The Pact is here with us. She says it's not the same. We lost Snaf, and that almost destroyed us. If we've really lost Logan, together we can overcome any loss. We're going to have to succeed here. The poor humans, always on the back foot, always on the verge of extinction, and here they're friggin' iconic character just dying. Ah, man. Is that the sort of speech that inspires Pact troops to march into a dragon's maw behind you, she says? Okay, maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe not. Maybe I'm right. Oh, my God. Okay, fine. There is one thing. These guys haven't been together for 5 years, so it might not be quite the same as losing Snaff. I mean, Snaff they'd really bonded with. Logan's only just come back into the picture. Air, you were defied. How do you feel? I thought that this time, together, we would be unbeatable. Could I have been wrong? Well, look, we were prepared to do this without Zodja earlier, so maybe we can be prepared to do this without Logan now. It happened so fast. He's really gone, isn't he? He gave his life so we could escape and atoned for abandoning us when we needed it. So, what do you guys think about his justification there? Last time he left them, so this time he's letting them leave him. Does that work? I mean, maybe. I mean, someone needed to stay down there to get us in the air. Do we owe it to Logan to make the most of his sacrifice? We've been here before, says Air. Last time, we fell apart without Logan. Don't you see that he would want us to fight on, we say? She says he gave his life so we could escape. And okay, so we're in a loop here. Damn, all right, you're right. Well, let's see this through, Air.
Clear skies.
Logan's spirit is still here with us. We can actually speak to Garm again now. Look at how huge Garm is, right? Way bigger than us. And he's changed now to Garm seems unhappy. It's okay, Garm. Oh, look at the sun. Oh, my God. Okay. Caith? Oh, Bract. Our group is shattered again after so short a reunion. I can't believe he's really gone, Caith. His sacrifice brought us a fighting chance. He has paid in full for his earlier abandonment. True, and we should take this chance and beat Zhaitan together. She says, still, our loss bodes ill. History may not repeat itself, but it often echoes. This is a beautiful saying, isn't it? It was a shock to lose him like that. And, okay, we're in a loop here as well. Agreed, let's finish this. Okay, so that's Destiny's Edge on what they believe with the Logan death, the Logan exit. So that's that. Let's move out onto the ship now. So unfortunately, because we've been inside the ship speaking to the group, you don't get a very cool animation. I tried to give you a bit of both, where basically we're flying through the skies. Now, hold on. If I press M and look at our map, look at this. We are at a place called the Giant's Causeway. And you'll notice these white dots, okay? This is where the dungeon started. Here's the salvage of Rihanna Extreme, the White Bear's Pride, the Lady Livia over here. We actually got on it. There's no faking or anything. And we have actually moved in engine along the path here that's been painted. This is all airship travel as we have sailed south. And a long way south. Let's just put this in comparison with the rest of the game, okay? This is the gates of Arah, okay? So Cursed Shore stops like here, all right? That's the bottom of the Cursed Shore. The top of the Cursed Shore would be like this. So we've traveled already like the whole length of the Cursed Shore. If I go to my world map for the surface, you can see here just how far we've gone. Look at the world map here. This is the Scavenger's Causeway. That's the north of Ore up there. We are all the way down here, okay? And we are going to go a lot further. This map is huge. And why? Because it's all about airship travel. As I said, they've teased many times. We've been on airships, but as they've actually moved, this is where that actually happens in the game, and it's so cinematic. There is one thing I will credit the end of Guild Wars 2 for being, and that is incredibly cinematic. This is the coolest stuff ever to me. So what we missed was us actually sailing down between all these cliffs, doing some turns, lifting and lowering, and also coming towards these ominous badasses here. Okay, we just got hit by something. These three giants, look at them. 1, 2, 3. 3 enormous giants, the likes of which we have never seen, guarding the dragon's nest. Look at them! And they're actually, you know, proper NPCs that are doing things with regular giant animations. What they're doing is sieging the airship. So what we have to do is take them out so that they can't sink the airship. Of course, that doesn't happen because failure is impossible in Guild Wars. But hey, so here we go. We're going to do that from the cannons. Now, you'll notice that there's 3 of them, and then there's enemies spawning. The idea being, when this was a 5-man instance, 3 people would be on the cannons, and 2 people would be fighting the NPCs, keeping everyone clean from the cannons. Now it's scaled to a level where it's a bit more soloable, and it seems a bit weird that there's multiple. But hey, you can still play this co-op. You can still choose to be 5-man. So how do we do this? Well, not actually by firing the cannon. We use their reflection shields. So this is a skill which, when you trigger it, bounces the projectiles that the giants are throwing at us back at them. And that's actually doing damage. Now, the giants are too far away for us to see, like, their health bars or to be able to interact with them through conventional combat means. But they are being hit, and they are taking damage as anything else in the game. So what we're going to do is keep bouncing backwards and forwards from the cannon onto the enemies to keep ourselves safe, while we just keep reflecting the giants and have them kill themselves in true boss fight fashion. So if you watch very closely, here you can see their animations as they fall to the floor and die. And yeah, you want to make sure that you just get your reflection shield timing up at the right time. If you mess up the timing, you can quickly run to another cannon in the middle of the attack, and you can fire that shield instead. So you can kind of get 3 to work with. So that's cool. That's 2 giants taken out for me here now. Let's watch for the next one to attack one final time. Here he is. We'll go with the reflect. And yeah, if you reflect all of them perfectly, it's like 3 abilities in one. And there you have it. Down he goes. So let's take out this brute who just knocked me down. And we're moving. Oh, look at this, guys. So it's really well done because, like, you can put a turret down on the dock of the airship and the turret will go with you. The various skill animations can be kind of strange, but it's pretty badass, honestly. So as we move on, you'll see that there is a Pact chopper there. We're going to transition from airship to chopper in a second. As Captain... By the way, this is Captain Vandam. We didn't really speak to. Doesn't have any dialogue, but yeah, that's them and their crew. So, onto the chopper. What's our next goal?
Commander, you've made it. We need your help. We're landing troops in Arah and engaging Zhaitan's minions. Our transports and troops are getting shelled by enemy emplacements. We need someone to help clear a safe landing zone.
Alright. It's a shame we don't actually speak in that cutscene, but I suppose they limit as much as possible in these moments. So, we want to board the copter at the front of the airship. I'm going to quickly speak to Destiny's Edge and see if they have an update for us. You know what probably would have been smarter is if we spoke to these guys now and, you know, sat out on the deck of the airship during that other time. But that's fine. Yeah, they still have the same stuff to say to us. I didn't think they're updated yet. All right, so let's get out onto the chopper. We're not leaving the airship for good. There's still a ton of travel left for us to do. Looking back at the world map, you'll see we just moved a bit further south again there. I like to keep going to the map on this instance just to keep that sense of where we are. Look at these backgrounds. Like, look at this. Look, that's a ship, guys. Think about this. This was all underwater, okay? All of this. And then it got raised. Oh, it's so magical and epic. The scale of this game is nuts, man. Okay. Let's go on the chopper. Oh, look. Airships and dragons fighting in the sky. Ooh. And we're going to come over here and land down in this area. Cutscene's kind of weird there with the way that it suggests the chopper's moved. And so, we're at the Dragon Tooth Defense. Now, this once again, this is such a fascinating mission to me, guys, and you're going to have to excuse me for speculating about behind the scenes so much. This is an area that hints at, like, some of the ground combat and some of the stuff that's going on in this assault that we don't fully get to involve ourselves in. So, like, why are we here? It feels like there's dialogue missing, right? And what we're going to see in a second is once we clear this landing zone, a ton of troops are going to land here, and they're going to run up this ramp. That door is going to open, and they are going to head, like, down in this direction. We're at the point of interest called the Draconic Battery right now, by the way. They're going to go over there, and we never really see the consequence of them going there, what they were fighting, what part of the assault that was to do with, and I wonder if the devs were going to deal with something like that. Also, why is this called the Draconic Battery? It seems like this would be a thing that Zhaitan draws power from, a battery, right? A draconic battery. But they never really go further than just have the point of interest for us to speculate about. Obviously, and I really want you guys to remember this as this instance continues, we have already been directly affecting the dragon. Not just by killing his minions, but taking out the eyes and mouths. He is starved, okay? He's got very few forces left. We have been on, you know, the past 50 episodes or so have all actually been directly siphoning power away from Zhaitan, using his own strengths against him. This is not the be-all and end-all we're watching, right? So remember that. But then you see something like the Draconic Battery here that we're supposedly taking out. I wish that we did get a little bit more detail on it. Of particular note at the battery, though unexplained in lore, is you can see on the minimap there are like 6 orbs, 6 areas, 6 gods, 6... whatever, I guess. This eventually becomes a very recurring motif throughout the game. So I wonder. Anyway, so what we're going to do is come over to these towers. Each tower has different enemies to defeat around it. So this one, as you just saw there, were oozes. And what we're going to do is just blow the tower up through any means we see fit. And once we take it out, I guess Zhaitan is injured a little more and hurt a little more. The part of the landing zone is cleared out. So we'll clear one. Let's go to the next now. Let's do this one. This is Spectral. So there's oozes at one, Spectral at the other. Remember, this was a thing where we were speculating are they even directly working with Zhaitan? There was that NPC that said they seem to not be fully on board with Zhaitan, but they kind of fight stuff in Arah anyway, so hey, whatever. But yeah, so we can take the Spectrals out. They're guarding one of the other towers. And blow the tower up itself. Down it goes. And lastly, this is the most dangerous one. We have a tower being guarded by gorillas. So look out here, by the way, across the precipice. Look how huge this map is, how much stuff is going on. Look at that enormous bridge there. Look at that! And I like the thought of Pact forces charging across it. Yeah, so this last one is the most deadly because it's got gorillas and Orion eyes. So we already saw how dangerous eyes are. They just hammer you with millions of projectiles. But then the gorillas are really dangerous too. One of the rarest mobs that you find in Arah, and especially dangerous. They have super long knockdowns, if you remember when we were in the jungly areas around the Temple of Melandria. I was talking to you guys about this aspect of them. So if you let them knock you down, you can get stun-locked by one, then stun-locked by the other, then stun-locked by the other, and worst of all, then the Orion eyes will blow you up while you're on the floor, and it's a very easy place to die. It's a real shame that Destiny's Edge don't get off the airship here to help us. There's no reason why they don't. Again, it feels like this is a place that got affected by a reasonable amount of crunch, if I do say so myself. Because they don't really explain enough of what's going on or why Destiny's Edge didn't help us. I tend to think it's just that they forgot to code Destiny's Edge coming down for us. But hey, and there you go. So that's the third tower. By the way, if you take too long to break the towers, the enemies surrounding them do respawn. So gorillas can come back and knock you down under new eyes and stuff if you're not especially careful. Speaking of which, a gorilla just spawned here as I broke this tower, and the boss spawns. We get a Mouth of Zhaitan. We know the story of the eyes.
Insects, you've chosen a terrible time to be heroes. Stagger before the power of the dragon.
Oh, so check it out. This boss is really cool. He destroys our ride. He broke the airship we came on in with. Insane. So this boss has actually reasonable mechanics, okay? First of all, he's a mouth. We know all about the eyes now. King Razor presumably would have been the most dangerous of eyes. He's been taken out. But it's the mouths that Zhaitan uses to gain strength. And so it's no surprise to me then that there's a Mouth of Zhaitan here at the Draconic Battery. Mouths are much rarer, I think, even than eyes. And so it's very significant if you can take any of them out. Well, here's a new one. Now, this guy has very special mechanics that aren't matched by any other mouth engagement in the game. So what he does is he throws these giant fiery orbs at you. And when the orbs land, you can actually pick them up. Then, every now and then, he tries to suck you into his mouth, and he does a big damaging attack. If during that suck-in animation, you throw the orb at him, his own power, and ricochet it back at him, you'll stun him for a really long time, and you'll be able to hurt him. This is one of Guild Wars 2's first real attempts to do a boss fight with burn phases and stuff. The Mouth of Zhaitan is invulnerable unless you play with this mechanic, firing the orb back at him.
Zhaitan will triumph. You will all serve the dragon.
So there you'll see he speaks to us regularly as we fight him. And he may seem kind of safe right now from watching my gameplay and not very dangerous. But I have to say, he hits hard. And if you don't play very carefully with this mechanic, he can CC you and kill you in just a couple of hits. I've done several challenges playing this game before with low armor, low health, low level, low whatever.
Stagger before the power of the dragon.
And this is one of the hardest bosses in the game if you don't play his mechanics right. Which is nice because he's right near the end and some of the upcoming bosses aren't conventional combat.
Everything is prey for the dragon. Surrender. Accept your fate.
Everything is prey. We are not prey, or I alone am not prey, I should say. Oh, no, he survived on just 3% health. Oh, if we die now, I will be so sad. I want an orb, but he's so close. Oh, no, he's doing the animation. Oh, no, the old orb's just despawned. Damn it, I've missed it. Okay, so he might hit me really hard here. I need to run away. I'm going to block. There we go. We blocked something there. I don't know what, but I think it will have been quite dangerous. Oh, my God, he really bit back here at the last percent. Come on, I got to get that door open. We got to clear out the Draconic Battery. You'll notice here, by the way, he throws more orbs out the more targets he has. So when I drop turrets, it causes him to create more. When you do this with 5 players, therefore, he has a higher kill potential because you might run into someone else's orb and you've just generally created more, right? If that makes sense. So there we go. He also, by the way, has unique dialogue for when he actually kills you, which is very rare in the game.
Come on. Let's give the Skald something to sing about.
All right, so watch this cutscene very carefully. Look, the door is open. We drop all these helicopters down. And you hear that. Look and listen to this. Oh, man. And they all go charging up there. But do we actually get to see what happens behind that door? Do we get any dialogue that tells us why that door was important to be opened? None. We just, get to use our brains and think, oh, well, look, it's probably about the fact that we're assaulting on all quarters here. So there we go. Next job. Keep watch for Orion forces as the airship advances. So the ground assaults continue. Can you imagine like a Guild Wars 1 style split campaign mission here, where players of the Vigil were doing this mission at the same time as us, but they were down there while, Priory people on the airship, while Whispers people were, on the waters? That would be so cool, right? But obviously it all comes to this location. So, we're back. I wonder if everybody's updated. Looks like Caith actually wants to fight here. Yeah, so that's the thing, by the way. If you're struggling, you can drag the enemies to kind of near the front of the airship, and it will aggro Destiny's Edge, who otherwise just want to idle at the back of the ship. A bit weirdly designed, I think. But look at this, guys. We're going up. Up, up, up. The whole time through Ore, we've been looking in the skies and seeing this. Dragons versus airships. We are about to become one of them. This is the view over the Straits of Devastation. This is the view over Malkor's Leap. Except now we are at Arah, a location called Death in the Sky. Death in the Sky! What a great name! And speaking of great names, some of the stuff we're about to fight is so magical and mysterious, it will make your heads explode. So, yes, we are having enemies sieged onto us from either below or they're getting sprayed off of the wings of nearby dragons. You might think that this stuff is faked, right? I said it when we first saw them out in the air outside Straits of Devastation. You might think dragons over there are fake. They're not. They're real, actual models, enemies that are flying around. They're just so high and far away, you never really get to interact with them until now. So, we're continuing to keep watch here.
Dragon champions! Everywhere!
Let's just call it a target-rich environment.
A target-rich environment, Zodja. So, we have a dragon to defeat. The cannons become available again. And check it out. Here he is, number 1. This is Ogravros the Moon Death. So, we've met 2 dragons like this in the past. We met Tequatl, the Sunless, and we met Blightghast, the Plaguebringer. This is the 3rd such dragon, but the fight this time is totally different. It's actually an airborne battle that, if you're perfectly efficient with, can be quite good and comfortable to get through, but otherwise can be really, really difficult. So let's see how we do. Ogravros is going to fly around here. He's going to descend under the ship, like so, as you can currently see. And when he comes up on the other side, he's going to start bombarding us. It's at this point, you want to get the shield up, target him, and you'll notice we now have a skill 2, where we can actually fire missiles at him, okay? So he's only going to do this for a little while. What you really want is to get about 33% of his health done in one burn. But you'll just notice the complication. Enemies spawn around you that drop AoEs at your feet, and the AoEs really hurt, okay? So you can die very quickly and very suddenly on these cannons with no ways to rally. So really you want to do half of the dragon's health, and then, get off and fight for yourself. If you can't do half of the damage health, it can, like I think I just missed there, it can extend the fight quite a lot because you'll have to wait for him to swoop around a lot before he's finally burnable again. But yeah, so this is Ogravros. His name, you might think, oh, that sounds like a really exotic, cool name. Ogravros. It's not actually translatable into anything, I believe. Once upon a time, I did like a bestiary project for the game, and this guy was one of my main inspirations for it, because his name is just so telling of beautiful and interesting stories, but there is no lore about him, none. Why is he the Moon Death? I mean, yes, we've seen lots of stuff in the game so far, talking about Celestials, and more of that will be coming up. But there's really not much lore about Tyria's moon. It's like one of the great mysteries. Like, what kind of cool stories do they have to tell about it? Well, here we got a dragon called the Moon Death. Really, really cool. Ah, there we go. So I managed to take him out in 2 burns. That's beautiful. Nice.
More to go, I'm afraid.
And Ogravros itself, you might think, oh, is that like a Persian name? Is it like a Kurdish thing? The truth is, it's nothing. If you Google the word Ogravros, Guild Wars 2 hits come up at the top. So maybe it's from some language, and you guys can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But yeah, Augur of Ross, the Moon Death. I once upon a time did that bestiary and suggested like his lore would be you learn he comes from the Winternell Labyrinth in the Cursed Shore or something. Like, where are these dragons born? What core is them that gives them names? Did Zhaitan name them? How do we as the Pact receive those names? It's amazing, right? And to think of all the different people we might have terrorized all over Tyria until being drawn back here as the dragon finally feels threatened. And we come to him on an airship. Ah, it's so good. And I don't think I made this clear yet, by the way, but the ship we're on and powered up is the Humble, whose crew we just saw talking in Fort Trinity. All right, so continuing along, let's look at the world map. Look at this. We've done a big bend the entire time, rising in the sky. We're turning here now. Look at all the distance that we've traveled here. Absolutely nuts.
All hands to your stations.
Actually returning to the Giant's Causeway, way, way, way below us. But so far below now, we can't even see it. Oh, my Lord. Okay, good. So, they say return all hands on deck. Does that mean that we've got something else to do? Look at that airship there. Look, I feel such a kindred spirit looking at the other airships around us. Look, and some of them are so much higher than us still. All right, here we go. The next dragon, he is sieging us. We don't have a health bar yet or a name. So what could be more intense and epic than fighting a dragon while on an airship? Well, what about fighting 2 dragons at once on an airship? Yeah, they really know how to up the ante, eh? This is one of them. He's flying around right now. Here we go. Up he comes. Let's get our reflex going.
Prepare for another attack.
So here we've got Fafnerin, the Heartslayer, and Horagos, the Soulbreaker. Once again, if this was 5 players, if you have a full team, really, really, really good and useful because you can kind of break as much through the health of the dragons as possible. They do actually scale. I think their health does scale with new players coming in, so it's not like it's 100% easier. But you'll notice here, unfortunately, I did just have an opportunity to fight Fafnerin, but I couldn't because there were Risen around, and that's where having a full team of 5 can really help here. It can ensure that people stay on the cannons as much as possible. If you're a ranger with a pet, then you can get around that. If you have minions, you can get around that. If you have turrets, you can get around that. But none of them are as effective as just having other people to play with. Because it ultimately was designed as a 5-man engagement. So, next burn on Horagos, the Soulbreaker here. Continuing to reflect, trying to monitor our health in these AoEs and not tank too much. And look how we get siege on both sides. Look at this, man. Oh my god. Flanked the entire horizon just filled with death and poison and Zhaitan dragons. Great. Caith, you're out here to help. Thank you so much. Looks like, just by way of luck, Horagos is the one that's taken the biggest beating here. The fight gets exponentially easier the second you break the first dragon. Look at that death animation. Yeah, and the roar in the sky. Look at it tumbling down. Yeah, it gets much easier the second you break the first dragon because you're not getting attacked on both sides anymore. The funny thing is, it triggers really crazy battle music when there's only 1 dragon remaining. Now, good video game design should dictate that, ideally, realistically, the devs would have the second dragon, like, supercharge or get really PO'd in the case that he's the last one left so that the fight remains interesting and not easier in the final stages, but more difficult in the final one. And that's what the music seems to suggest is happening. But unfortunately, I don't think the devs implemented any mechanics to actually reflect that. We get the music and the sense that we're doing something really big and badass and awesome, but reality doesn't really reflect the intensity now. In truth, we're probably breathing a sigh of relief because, hey, we've killed one, we know we can get the other. So, Fafnin, next on the chopping block. Down he goes. Man, I don't want to edit any of this out because it's just so gorgeous, you know? Cinematic, that is the word I will use 1,000 times to describe this. It's on a different league to the rest of the game by such a long way. Let's get another reflect bubble up. Just to protect ourselves. Oh, and hear that bassy, guttural roaring as we strike him in the impact land. He managed to clip us there. I just want to make sure I can get him to at least, you know, 20% or so to make sure on the next burn we can actually finish him off. There's no need to risk our lives now right at the end with anything too crazy. And just to think, on all these other places out here, you know, there's this airship that's getting the visible damage on it. And we have visible damage. Look at the fires on our airship, right? We're going down, really, just as the others are. Everyone's in these massive, you know, really energy-packed battles, just trying to, you know, clear the decks and make sure that the cannons are ready to fire to defend themselves. Everywhere, dragons paired off with airships. Dragons paired off with airships. And ArenaNet were really smart about giving you so much of the game to look in the sky and wonder about that, and then finally give you the experience. Down he goes. So that's the Heart Slayer and the Soul Breaker and the Moon Death destroyed. But the airship does not look like it's in very good nick right now. Can anyone help us? I mean, we're so high. Look, all the cannons get destroyed.
We've been hit.
It's coming apart.
Prepare to abandon ship.
Yes, abandoned ship. I would love to abandon ship, but how and where? We're so high in the sky. Well, if we look just below us... Now, I do want to pause for a bit of weird trivia here. If you manage to get yourself downed at this very moment, you will not be saved from this sinking airship, and you will go down with it, separated from the rest of your group. Really funny, weird experience that kind of stalls the mission. But I had to mention it. Coming up fast! Well, there's a pretty big one. With the ominous sound of the alarm in the background. This, everyone. This ain't no regular airship.
Another ship coming in, and it's a huge one.
When it comes alongside, get aboard.
Abandon ship. Get to the larger vessel.
It's the glory of Tyria. Look at it! Totally different design, as yet unseen. Every time we've seen an airship, the devs could have had a chance to be like, oh, do you want to use this ship? No. They save it for this last moment. The engineering, just like Fort Trinity, borrowing from all 5 of the races.
Everyone onto the other ship!
Come on, you laggards! We don't have all day.
Logan?
Logan, you're alive!
You think I was going to let you go up against Zhaitan alone?
Logan, I'm delighted to see you're well. I thought.
I know. I got out by the skin of my teeth and hopped a lift with this ship. It's a new design.
Yeah, you think?
Impressive. I think this is just what we need to take down a dragon.
Everyone to your battle stations. We're going in.
So Zodja's dialogue there conflicting a little bit with what she said earlier. I thought she was working on this. It had a Surin design.
You miss me?
She was working on it, or she suggested. So, there you go. The ship is leaving now. It's probably going to go crash out, but we get off. We're now moving on the glory of Tyria. Logan says, did you miss me? And so, yes, he's back. He does not die. They just hang that over you for a little while. And look at the sunlight breaching the hull of the ship. Oh, look at it actually crashing down there. There's so much to see. I don't even know where to look. Okay, so we got a holdout now as the glory of Tyria tracks Zhaitan. This is the location of the final boss fight, okay? Now, there's a lot of phases and a lot of things going on with the final boss fight that actually got cut from the game. So we're going to get lots of back-to-back cutscenes. And if you guys want the most enjoyment out of this, I suggest you look at the objectives it's telling us on the top right. Because it seems like they had plans for a big, fully fleshed out battle. And we'll only see kind of glimpses of it. Very sadly and unfortunately. But yeah, let's catch up with everyone. Zodja says Logan has more luck than a probability manipulating golem. Still, it's good to have him back among the living. So, you admit you're glad to see him? Hey, I'm glad to see anyone who will stand between me and Zhaitan's hordes. What do you know about the ship that returned him to us, the glory of Tyria? It's a marvel. Char design, human ingenuity, Norn labor, Sylvari spirit, and Asura intelligence, all united in one vehicle. Oh, but hold on.
Something big is coming.
What is that?
That's Zhaitan!
Look at the size of that thing.
Well, we don't get to finish our conversation because he's here. He's crashing the party. And we find Zhaitan. And he immediately smashes off the front of the ship. I feel like we're missing a part of gameplay immediately with that. I mean, Jesus, we hardly get to enjoy it. We don't get to press F and trigger this.
Stand aside. I have this.
Excuse me. This is a mist-cooled tripartite Thaumatrium energy weapon.
Uh-huh. With a lead tracer array set for draconic energy. Who do you think designed it? I know how to handle this. I won't break it. Much.
All right, okay, so we're in a defense sequence. How do you think he survived long enough for the Tyria to find him? Don't know and don't care. I'm just happy to have his impulsive, argumentative human nature back where it belongs. You do seem glad to see him. Hey, I'm glad to see anyone. Okay, good. All right, so the fight begins. So you'll notice that there's a lot of people here, not just Destiny's Edge, like this guy, second mate Fars. He's actually one of the people we saw talking in the Fort Trinity instance before when they were setting up the idea of the glory of Tyria and sneaking that in. So, all right, well, you guys probably want me to look at the dragon a bit more again. You notice that the skies immediately got kind of evil looking. You'll notice we're now back towards death in the sky. We are actually still on a trajectory here. Oh dear, and there's Zhaitan. That is an elder dragon. He's actually one of the smaller of the elder dragons, but bloody huge. And you've got to remember that perspective is kind of being played with you a little bit here on the ship, in that he could be really far away, but you don't kind of see because you don't have many points of reference. So, yeah, we got to defend the megalith cannon. The cannon is the thing that will deal the blows of damage to the boss if we can do it. Here's Ritlock. He says, didn't I tell you that human was like unlucky copper? There's no shaking him. Even the elder dragons can't stop us now. Even with a new ship, we're still in for one major fight. A powerful ship, a crew of heroes, and a foe worth fighting. It's a good day. You never doubted Logan was alive? Truth be told, I fear we'd lost him that time. Glad to be proven wrong. We still have a major fight ahead of us. Yes, we certainly do. Okay, so we got that. Now, Air's in combat and won't want to speak to us just yet, but maybe we can get her out of combat. Jesus! Every time Zhaitan flies through, the whole thing goes shaking. He's dropping gorillas on us and all kinds of stuff. Now, there's a ton to explore on the ship. I think we might have to wait a minute for that, though, because the cannon's actually about to charge here. All right, so with the cannon charge, that's phase 1. Big defense moment. I think they could have expanded to something more. But, so yeah, we defend it. Zhaitan comes in for another attack. I think it's a shame this isn't a cutscene. I'd love to actually be in-game and just see him swooping next to us, because we know that that's possible. Look at him. Look at him fill in the sky. I would not want to be one of those other ships right near him, like above him or below him. And there's the cannon. It fires.
Yes, he carved its tail off. It can't stay in the air.
So, pay attention to Zhaitan's tail falling there at a distinctly different area to the rest of the fight. That will be relevant way down the line, okay? But remember, we just chopped off his tail, okay? And he's still alive and fighting back. But the tail has fallen somewhere in Arah now. Hopefully the Priory or someone can deal with that. We get control again for a second, and then another cutscene triggers. Obviously a cut part of the fight, in my opinion, where we were going to do something else. Instead, we just go straight to this, where we get another victory against him. This time, some other cannons on the Glory of Tyria are shooting him, these laser beams. We don't get any lore or understanding of what they are or how they're actually helping out. We can presume they're based on the same Professor Gore theories of the vacuum magic polarizer and whatnot as the 5 races come together to build this technology, but they don't really explain much more. So Zhaitan gets really wounded by that and basically goes Super Saiyan. So not only did the devs create an Elder Dragon design that was amazing and massive and big and badass, they also create this version of him with a red wing, yeah? And that like comes bursting out. And there's a cool idea of a whole part of the fight using the red wing, but he flies off over to that tower there, all right? And you see he's clinging to it. This tower is at the center of Arah.
We've driven him out of the sky!
So we on the ship now, you see, are actually going to turn, and we're going to go towards him all the way out there. We just need to hold out on the Glory of Tyria as we actually track Zhaitan. So there's this whole phase that we get to play now too. Still hoping for a chance to speak to some members of Destiny's Edge. Here's the captain, by the way. Captain Castor Scorchsail.
It's still dangerous. Watch yourself.
Who doesn't really say too much, but nonetheless is a named NPC. 2 eyes of Zhaitan fighting us at once now. They're not actually champions. They don't have break bars, so you can take them out, you know. But the spectacle of fighting 2 eyes of Zhaitan at once is amazing. More corrupted kings and queens of Ore on board here. And look, so the ship has just moved to the Elder Dragon's Lair. This is the last area of the game, the last named unfoggable area of Guild Wars 2. Now, you remember what I said about points of interest, yeah? And that there was the Lady Livia. But there's another really interesting thing as well. This is the Dragon's Lair. Look at it. On the map, it's got all this beautiful work here. You can see the rocks. In the very center is a POI. That POI is impossible to get. In the whole game, unless you like hack the game and do really stupid stuff that gets your account banned, you cannot get that POI. That POI is in theory a place that the fight should take us to, but has clearly been cut for time. It seems like it's right on the tower, but so we will never be able to get that. Here, we get instead the end of the fight, to slay the Elder Dragon Zhaitan. That's our last objective of victory or death. You'll see he now has a health bar, and it says use the airship's cannons to defeat him. So, this is the final phase of the fight, and hopefully I can take a second now to finish everyone's dialogue. Check it out, Mr. Sparkle's actually interacting a lot here. Here's Logan, and once again has no dialogue for us. At the start of the dungeon, I said, I wonder if he's just coded weirdly because of him missing and then coming back later. I think that might be why, because of his whole death sequence there.
The journey continues. You have my attention.
She says, Logan's return is a sign we will succeed this time. Today, an Elder Dragon dies. You really believe Destiny's Edge is a match for an Elder Dragon? Together, my friends are merely capable. With your help, we are invincible. It's good to have Logan back among the living for this fight. I'm happy that we mourned him prematurely. Yes, I think we all are. You guys are invincible. Hey, Garm. Garm looks excited to have everyone gathered together again. Ready to bite some dragon minions? And Caith, still with a quest marker. That's so weird. I think it's bugged in a weird way. I'm delighted to have Logan back, but our greatest battle lies ahead. Yeah, you're telling me we're in it. Still, this has to be a good sign, right? Nothing can stop Destiny's Edge now. It's great to be proven wrong, isn't it? Logan always managed to surprise me, but never so pleasantly. This really was a pleasant surprise, wasn't it? Nothing can stop Destiny's Edge now. So, there you have it. Very nice. Now, there are more areas of the airship to explore, but we should really get on with the fight. So, how does this work? Well, there's a ton of cannons, you'll see. In fact, there's cannons on this wing that you will never use. Once again, I don't know, clearly something the devs were going to have but never ended up using. You're only going to use the cannons on this side, and you'll notice that there are, once again, 5, as if you have 5 players. I'm going to get on the very middle one, and you'll see here, you get a skill, Fire. You'll notice that this time, there is no targeting of Zhaitan. The entire fight, or almost the entire fight, okay, is to press this skill, Fire. And when we fire, it shoots these very cool looking, you know, explosive projectiles that spray out and do a little bit of damage to Zhaitan each time. There's no aiming, there's no like trebuchet or catapult or hold down or charging up and stuff. It's just hit the boss, okay? The complication to that is that as you damage him, he will hit you with these new animations. Now, I think these were added after launch, to tell you the truth, but they're called Poison Explosion, Spray Poison. They try and knock you away. Also, Zhaitan will occasionally spawn enemies that will, you know, you might actually want to clean up and do some damage to. But largely speaking, the final fight is this. Now, once again, I will say it's very cinematic, and I'm celebrating Guild Wars 2, and I enjoy Guild Wars 2 very much, but it is obvious, for everything I've said here so far, that cinematography is the only thing this really has going for it. The devs were clearly crunched, and one of the most notorious, like, gone down in history failure points for this entire game, it has to be said, is what you're currently looking at. The fact that pre-release, they never had time to actually finish the final boss fight. What a limp way to end it, eh? Really sad, especially considering for all these years as we were waiting for this game to come out, the devs kept saying it will come out when it's ready, when it's ready, when it's ready. My actual honest opinion is I don't think the devs should have implemented any story after the Battle of Fort Trinity for the release game. I think all of the stuff after the Battle of Fort Trinity, all the Ore arc, including this, should have been post-launch releases that they had time to work on fully. Because otherwise, we kind of get this weird compromise that is a bit of a disappointment, really. I mean, there you go. This is the final fight. Pressing 1 on a cannon. Doesn't matter what class you are or anything. Now, one thing I do want to point out is this animation here, which seems to trigger very rarely, maybe only when Zhaitan's on low health, which is a part of the fight you don't get to see very much of. But one of these tendrils, one of these mouths of his on his shoulder, comes right out near the cannons and sort of shouts a lot. What that's actually doing is summoning mobs. Now, this was definitely an update, I remember, in the patch notes sometime after launch. On this particular footage, you'll see after I've beaten the dragon himself, that animation was still rolling. And after the cutscene, I was still in the fight. But what you'll see it does is summons allies for Zhaitan. Does that mean more undead? Well, no. He does have an ability called Raise Dead that does damage somehow. You can see in the earlier phases, like the Megalith cannon defense. But here, it summons more tendrils of Zhaitan, these worm-like creatures with really cool models and textures, honestly, that will fight against you. They use interesting skills called Lurk and stuff. Honestly, I really like them. They're a very unique and rare asset in the game. You never see them anywhere else. So there is some quality to the fight. It's just extremely easy to miss, and honestly, none of it's threatening. But that, again, is sort of Guild Wars in a nutshell. There you go. With all this beautiful art and sound and incredible work that's gone in, that's how it goes down for the gameplay. Kind of a perfect example and expression of Guild Wars 2 on a broader level, to be honest, as well. So in some ways, I like the way the Zhaitan fight went. It expresses the game in a nutshell as sort of a microcosm. So there you go. You take out Zhaitan. You destroy the tower. It's almost like we, by the way, in this cutscene, aren't killing him, but we're breaking the tower he's clinging to, and then he falls. And so I actually think that the original idea is that after he fell here, we'd then go have a ground fight, maybe with Trahearne's side or something, though this isn't necessarily his battle, but on foot with Destiny's Edge at that POI, but we never see it in the end.
The Elder Dragon is no more.
We have succeeded, but only by coming together to fight a greater foe. You have shown the way. We, and all of Tyria, are in your debt.
So, there you go. Zhaitan goes down with the tower. Like I say, I think that there could have been another phase that they were probably planning. I think actually fighting alongside Destiny's Edge was really important and makes more sense. And there's an interesting consequence of all of this, in that because we don't actually see him die, we just see him from a tower and then they say he's dead. It leads to some theories over the years that Zhaitan's still around and maybe the devs can do a patch where they bring him back and we have a proper fight. I'm still a fan of them doing a real update to the personal story, many aspects of the personal story, this included, that actually improves this and gives us all the phases as it was originally written and was, you know, clearly planned for, but never finished to properly honor the visuals and the design and stuff. But the devs have never really made any sign for it. I think a couple of weeks after the game came out, there were some rumors that the game director at the time wanted to improve this, but they just never did it all these years later, and they never did. What can I say? So yeah, there is more to do though. We can explore the ship, and this is not actually the true end of the story. Don't worry, it's not like a boss fight and then you're done. We get all the different NPCs to look at. You'll see that all of our cannons are firing into the sky, and the idea is that they're launching fireworks around. Members of the Vigil all hanging out. Members of the Order of Whispers, the Priory. As we move on over here, we can see Destiny's Edge, and they, I think, will have a little bit of conclusory dialogue for us. I don't know, they say the same stuff here. Look, they didn't even update their dialogue for after the fight. It's all the same dialogue we saw a second ago. There's no way, well done for taking on the dragon. Look, we're still saying bring on the dragon's champions. I mean, how fast has that been done? So, but we can explore under the glory of Tyria. You'll see here you get anvil repair. Like, who would come here to repair their anvil? I suppose this is where the waypoint is. Look at this, though, mechanically. Moving waypoints? It's such a cool idea that it's a big, badass boss fight on a moving asset, you know? You don't see many games do that, let alone MMOs. And then you get all these other NPCs, right? You get Crewman Caster Scorchsail, who's the named NPC. Captain Genghis Skyfarer, a named NPC. First Mate Curie, named. But these guys just don't have that much, right? You get more dialogue from a lot of these people, honestly, in the Fort Trinity instance preceding all of this than you do in the instance itself. And then you can go on to the other flank as well. This whole lower level, I'm sure, was going to be one of the phases of the fight where, you know, that chain lightning came out of. We were going to be fighting on the lower decks or something, but you kind of don't in the end. Also, I guess the backgrounds are still very, very, very beautiful, and there's still a lot going on. Just because Zhaitan is destroyed, you'll notice his dragons are still flying around. That I actually don't think is a mistake or a result of time crunch. The fact that the dragons are still flying around is kind of natural. Even though we've defeated Zhaitan, when we go back into the open world, you'll still see undead ambling around because it will take a long time for all of his armies to be cleaned up, and that's how the devs kind of justify that the whole world doesn't suddenly change when the story ends. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I really had to say here on the Glory of Tyria and to do with the Zhaitan fight. Except to point out once again that thing with the tail. These conspiracy theories Zhaitan may still be alive, I don't really believe in. But the tail fell at a different place, and it's the tail that will become more relevant in stories on days upcoming. But there you have it. Garm is at least leaping around. They took the time to have Garm run around happily at the end, at the very least. Okay, cool. So we're going to leave. And we're back to the Cursed Shore, having fully explored the depths, or the far reaches of Arah and Or. The actual depths of the city we'll have to look at in explorable mode. You'll notice that we still have a green dot, though. We're still technically in Victory or Death. And that's because our final job is to return to Fort Trinity and join the victory celebrations, which is genuinely where the game will end. Oh, it feels good. Easy street here at the end. Victory or death. The final component is one last return to Fort Trinity. Just as we had with the end of the personal story, sort of, with the Source of Ore mission. But this is purely for celebration. No setting up a big dangerous fight ahead. We have returned to green happy lands knowing the Elder Dragon is defeated. Caith's wild hunt complete. Our wild hunt, or suggested wild hunt. I mean, the other part could have been to do with the Green Knight. I guess that's open for our interpretation as a Safari. But also the land cleansed with Traherne. We got nothing but to tie a nice ribbon over the events of the day. So let's do it. Head on into Victory or Death. This is a coincidence that also, on very minor ways, does actually change a bit of dialogue based on our choices in the personal story too. So that's always appreciated. But mostly we get to sit back, have fun, and pat ourselves on the back. So let's do it. Hello. Yay! It's a reunited Destiny's Edge. Look how Caith runs out ahead first. Do you think that's because we're a Safari? They all do. They come to greet us. This is badass. Air moves quite far ahead actually there. Oh, hello everybody. It's good to see you. I like how they all cheer. Unfortunately, we don't get to actually pet Garm on this one. We don't get to interact with him. But hello, Air. How's it going? You've done an amazing things for the Pact Commander. All of Tyria owes you an immeasurable debt. On behalf of Garm and Destiny's Edge, thank you. On behalf of everyone who fought for the Pact, you're welcome. Let's assume and imagine, as I often do, that in that final conflict with Zhaitan, we did have that final battle where Destiny's Edge got down in the mud with us and we all, you know, did our part as best as possible. Logan definitely saved our bacon, even with the implementation we got in the end. You know, actually saving us from the sinking humble there. Thank you. I guess we owe you our lives. He says, I salute you, Commander, and not just because you outrank me. Look at this. We outrank him, apparently. None of this would have been possible without you. You've made Tyria safer, stronger, and more secure. There's a lot of weird little bits of dialogue in the game, guys, and several in this video if you've been watching as a very knowledgeable player of the game, that feel like they're foreshadowing the future, when in fact, as they were originally written, I don't think they are. But you're actually looking at something here. Some of you will be nodding and knowing what I'm talking about right now. For the rest of you, we'll have to wait for quite a bit down the road. We made it that way, Captain. Look at that, Captain Logan Thackeray. It's weird to see him just called Captain here. I suppose that's always been true. I mean, he doesn't own a boat or anything, or an airship. So, we deserve to celebrate. Let's. Hello, Ritlock. I'm impressed, Commander. I may bring you in to the Black Citadel to give the brass some lessons on how to conduct a campaign from the field. When you get a moment, I'd like to toast your victory. I like both of those ideas, Tribune. Let's get started. Zodja, you gonna be nice to us? I didn't expect you to succeed so spectacularly. Now I have to recalculate my heroic potential matrix. Thanks for the extra work. Oh, and for cleansing ore, killing Zhaitan, and so on. Yeah, I wonder what they would actually include in the and so on. Everything else in all the many chapters we've done. In fact, as we start here, it might be really fun to read our story journal here. With the help of a reunited Destiny's Edge, the Pact was able to accomplish the impossible, slaying of an Elder Dragon. Zhaitan has fallen, and while the Pact's work is far from over, we have achieved a major victory. We agreed to continue the fight against the remaining Elder Dragons after we take a moment to honor those who have fallen and celebrate the triumph. Look at that! We agreed to continue the fight. So if you guys are wondering where the story's going, it's to more Elder Dragons, but of course. Thank you very much, Zodja. You're too kind. And lastly, Caith, our mentor. How's it going? Congratulations, Commander. Our shared wild hunt started together, so it's fitting that we end it together. Did it start together? I don't know about that. I mean, in as much as everything in the dream starts together. We've more to do, but for now, rejoice. This victory will become part of the dream. We feed all these happy feelings back into the dream. Let's hope it inspires the next generation of Sylvari. The dragon-slaying generation? I mean, surely we are already a part of it. So yeah, these guys are with us, hanging out outside of the fort, but there's so many more characters for us to check out. We can move along to all these different packets of troops, and many of them will respond and talk as we visit them. So these guys cheer. I want to come down to this group just in case they have anything to say. Hello, everybody. The commander is amongst you. Yeah, I was thinking for the second that they wouldn't salute us or something, and I was going to be mad, but no, it's fine. Oh, Destiny's Edge are actually just hanging out with us. This is awesome. I love how Mr. Sparkles is just so silently always following Zodja rather than us. Okay, so cool. What do we got up here? More people cheering. These guys are actually dancing. Look at this. So if you guys are new to the franchise, you may not know, but Guild Wars 1 always ended with a scene like this, a moment at the end of the story where you get to visit various prominent NPCs, and this is Guild Wars 2's interpretation of that. It's very faithfully done in accordance with how they did that in the original games, and followers of the original series will know exactly what I'm talking about here. So we get some Priory Scribes. In fact, if you've watched all my Guild Wars series, this must be quite nostalgic for you, because my delivery and presentation of this is going to be exactly the same as back then. We got all the people saluting us as we walk, as they flank towards the gate, and it will actually open. Beautiful animation as we get close. Yeah, I was almost doubting myself then, wondering if we had to enter the fort from a different location. But we travel through. Look, it's like we're a member of Destiny's Edge, because they're coming with us. And we get a cutscene, one of the final cutscenes of the game.
Victory at last. With Zhaitan defeated, the corruption it wrought can be undone. The dragon's undead minions that still infest Tyria will now gradually be exterminated. One day soon, that plague will be but a memory.
Look at this! It's us with Destiny's Edge! It's us! Oh, baby.
Courage, skill, and friendship brought the dragon low. Let this day never be forgotten.
A victory that all Tyria can share.
This is not an ending. There are other dragons out there. Other battles.
You shambling fuzzball. Can't you just be happy?
I was being happy.
In the Char spirit.
Will you return to your queen now, Logan?
No. Not until I know that Caith is safe.
Meaning he's up for more fighting. See? Logan's happy too.
Snaf would be proud of us. Especially of you, Zojja.
Proud that we didn't screw up and plant our faces in the mud again, you mean? Well, I guess he would, at that.
So, who's next? Jormag, Primordus, Krakatorik?
As dawn scatters shadows, so we will destroy them all. We could not have done this without you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You can count on me.
Good. Because Air is right. The rest of the dragons are still out there, waiting.
So you'll notice every time the topic of new dragons comes up, they always mention Jormag first, and Jormag is always more prominent. Who knows which dragon indeed will actually be next. But what a beautiful cutscene. I really like what they did with Logan there as well, because that is very much in line with what he learned at Caudicus's Manor, that he still cares about protecting the Queen. He still cares about honoring that stuff. He's just realized that the way to do it is not at her side. It's away. And, you know, that's why his response here at the end, are you going to go back to the Queen? Of course he isn't, because he's learned the best way to save her and Caith is to go to the battles. So there we go, we get Fort Trinity, all the confetti around, lovely. Up until this point in the game, I think you only get to see this at the somewhat nefarious area of Divinity's Reach with the carnivals. So we get to move on in. Destiny's Edge ran on, maybe we'll get a bit more dialogue with them later. Let's see who else we've got to talk to. Well, we've got a group of the various races here cheering us on, thanks very much.
So, tough guy. How'd a high-profile swashbuckler like you get into the Order of Whispers?
I'm good at what they do. I may not fit their recruiting profile, but I get results. What's your excuse? A vivacious lass like you joined the uptight and straight-laced vigil?
Huh. That makes two of us that don't fit the profile. Let's have a drink.
and see what else we have.
Oh, okay, so what you guys need to do as we go through this instance now is play a game with yourself. How many characters you exactly recognize and know at what point in the story they're from. And I won't help you out, okay? So we've got Ben 10 Strikes. He says, hey there, Carrot Flower, congratulations and all. Now, could you go mingle a little over there? I'm trying to get to know the Crusader a little bit here. Good luck. I'd hate to have to start calling you Ben 10 Strikes Out. Woohoo! Ben 10 Strikes, I feel like I really wanted to deliver a version of this series where we saw more of him, but I think we got a good amount. Sally Jane, here's the Carrot Flower who helped cleanse all, slay the dragon, and a bunch of other stuff. Cheers! Now, excuse me, Commander. I'm talking shop with Mr. 10 Strikes. Oh, well, I'll let you two do your flirting. Don't mind me. I know when I'm being a bit of a third wheel. So the quest actually wants us to go once again to the airship, where we probably know who's waiting, Marshal Traherne, right? But once again, we actually can take a bit of a detour. So here in the central area, we've got members of the Priory, Whispers, Pact, other leaders of these great organizations around.
So busy chatting up Crusader Jane, he doesn't even notice we're here.
Leave him be. The last thing he needs in those circumstances is Mum and Dad looming over him. Besides, she's just what he needs. If those two hit it off, she'll straighten him right out.
See, look at this, his parents are here as well. This was such a throwaway line before. Oh, what just happened over there with that char? Zri did some kind of experiment. Oh, it was the box of fun, maybe? And now she's laughing and the char was surprised. That's hilarious. It felt great to be at sea again, even if it wasn't on a real ship and I wasn't the captain. Maybe next time, right? When the Pact sets sail again, you'll be the first one we call. And we also get Mary Sunbower. Commander, this kind of gathering isn't usually to my taste, but since this is a special occasion, I'll make an exception and have my share of the fun. You deserve it, Mary. We all do. So it's an interesting mix of NPCs here that are, you know, regarded as special, important NPCs for the story. Some of them go on to have adventures in the later games, expansions, and updates. Some of them not so much. And I wonder what led the devs to making the decisions they did. Why the hell did... Who was it we just saw? Who was it? Zri? They've just ran off. That's weird. Okay, well, let's come up this ramp and see what we've got. These guys cheering. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, look who it is. It's Ellie.
Why aren't you lot drinking? We're smiths. Don't tell me you're not thirsty after a long day's smelt.
I don't much like large groups. Or small groups, come to think of it.
I fear I am also more reserved than you, friend Nord. Don't let that stop you. This is a celebration after all, so we're counting on you to celebrate for all three of us.
Oh, look at this, Izu, Jesus, the Smiths are reunited. It's us reuniting with Occam, actually, as well since the start. First, I want to speak to Ellie, though. How are you doing? She's dancing alone? Oh, that's kind of sad. Hey, Commander, don't leave me hoofing with a hologram. Oh, I guess the hologram is her companion. Show me what you've got, or everyone will know you fear the force of my feet. Challenge accepted. Let's dance, we say. And this will actually cause our character to do a / dance. Interestingly, there's a cast animation and bar there as well underneath. Really weird. The game very, very rarely forces an animation on you like this at launch. You'll also notice it's done a cool thing, which is we still have our weapon equipped while dancing. And indeed, maybe I can get away with weapon swapping. I can't. There are some tricks to do that. I felt like I could hear someone speaking there, but maybe it was just her grunting as she danced. There are some tricks in the game to dance with your weapons out, but here's a pretty easy way to do it, as you'll see. And they look pretty cool. That's weird. She almost triggered some combat dialogue there, it feels like. So, yeah, cool. It's good to see you, Ellie, and I'm glad you've had a nice adventure. You survived. Everyone here is a survivor of the story after so many deaths. I think that's a profound thing as well. All right, Bagarth. My forge is famous throughout the world. My weapons have slain griffins, elementals, worms, and now elder dragons. Commander, welcome. Care to join us? Well, as long as you need Delgium or steel, our heroes will be there to help you out later. I'd hate to interrupt your boasting. We got Izu. The Norn really need to step forward and show everyone how a celebration is done here. This was an intriguing and rewarding challenge, Commander. My people tend to keep to themselves. But when they hear about my experiences, I expect it'll draw them out some. Glad to hear it. The Pact need more talents like yours. So this is an amazing line of dialogue. I already mentioned in the series that the devs confirmed with the making of Guild Wars 2 book that they were going to have the Tengu as another playable race, but it ended up getting cut for time. They really, very early this isn't like the Zhaitan fight. This was much earlier on. They decided, let's not do that. They focused on the 5 instead. So here at the end of the game, they have dialogue from one of the only Tengu that's really interacted with the story and suggested very blatantly, hey, the Tengu could be a thing later. To this day, in early 2019, as I record this, they still have not done that. Now, that's a lot of years of updates and expansions and further stories. And while the Tengu have a little bit, to this date, they still have not truly come out from beyond that wall. They have not added an update making a 6th playable race playable. And the Tengu would be probably at the top of that list. So it's really interesting to look at that. And hey, who knows if that will be true by the time you, dear viewer, are watching this video. So, glad to hear it. The Pact need more people like you. And lastly, we got Occam, fellow Sylvari. I'm honoured to be included in the celebration, Commander. And though I loathe crowds, speaking with Bagarth makes it easier. All I have to do is smile and nod when he pauses for breath. That's a useful skill to have, Occam. Enjoy the party. I love how sincerely and innocently this is said as well. If that came from a human or any other race, you'd think they're being sarcastic or dickish. But no. Occam is genuinely serious. As an introvert, he's comfortable around someone so extroverted because it means he doesn't really have to participate in conversation that much. All right, what happened here? It's Ree. She's stealthed, teleporting around to the different groups and scaring them. Char in particular. We've caught you here, Zri. Hi. Oh, she waved at us. Great party, eh? I'm currently a little worse for wear and she's gone again. Wow. Maybe we'll catch the rest of that dialogue later. Is she just going between the two groups or all over the whole place? That's actually so cool. We get some scholars, arcanists. Just people hanging around and having fun. Is this guy asleep? Oh, no, he's laughing. He's laughing. Oh, they're playing ping pong. I have to admit, guys, I have never, until right this second, realized that they play ping pong in this final mission. That is so cool. There's no collision on it either. So the devs made it specifically here? Oh, dudes. Why was there no ping pong activity arena net? So last time, by the way, there's Zri. We have to go get her. If we can be nice and quick, maybe. Last time, this was out of bounds. Remember on our visit to the fort? Well, you get the whole thing this time. Great party, eh? I'm currently a little worse for wear, but I'm still having fun. My fellow inebriates are so easy to sneak up on. I barely need to work, maybe she said there. Okay, cool, so...
All that is still intact. I'm starting to believe we can survive anything.
That's always the last thing somebody says right before lightning strikes. Step away from Beck.
No, he's right. We should take on the next Elder Dragon ourselves. I hear the meat makes good sausages.
Well, they want to devour the world, right? Only fitting they wind up on the end of Uran's fork.
Right, now this group should be really interesting. I challenge you all to tell me where you recognize the characters from. Well, it's kind of a trick question if you're just watching my series, because these guys you will not be able to place. Seriously, we haven't seen them until now, so what are they doing in the victory celebration? Well, I think the idea might be from the devs that they're representing kind of other big adventuring bands we just didn't get to interact with at all or very much. In truth, they are in the game. It's just during the tactician Siska story, if instead of returning to Ascalon and dealing with her shady past, you can instead deal with her activities now, where she betrays a group of Pact inside the volcano. And it's there that you meet this lot. So the only one of our characters that had a chance to see them was in a single choice within a choice. And the other choice, frankly, was much better. We got to do other instances inside the volcano instead. So it's a really strange decision to have them here at the end of the story. I guess one of the devs really liked them. They are very characterful. And so you got Hester Galen. When I was assigned to this unit, I didn't think we'd last a single mission. Look at us now, the finest squad in the Pact. To us, and to you, Commander. Look at this, and they're of each of the races, right? Which one's missing here? They don't have a Sylvari. But the whole idea being maybe that they're a Destiny's Edge we just had no interaction with. The finest squad in this Pact. We don't even know you guys. That's the spirit, Hester. Savor this victory and your role in it, we say. As the Commander, maybe we can say we're on name terms with everyone at this point. But did we actually have a scene with them? No. Sometimes I miss my warband. Then I remember how much fun it is to kill things with Onrund and trade insults with Beck. They're not Char, but they're fine soldiers. You all are. Enjoy the celebration. Love this dialogue as well, because once again, it's about Char reflecting on being away from their warbands, which should happen a lot more than it does. It's out there, though, in places. Superior party, Commander. I don't suppose you could extend the celebration by a week or two? My unit is already clamoring for the next battle, and I wouldn't mind a little more leisure. Tell them to relax. There's plenty more fighting to do. Yeah, we've got 5 Elder Dragons. Okay, we've taken 1 out. That leaves 4 left, and Tyria will be safe from their yoke. And there shouldn't be any complications with that, I'm sure. Unrond Ramshan says, Commander, care to join us in the feasting and the quaffing? On this special day, my appetite for meat and ale is exceeded only by my hunger for merriment. Maybe later. I've got a lot of people to see. We do. We're basically doing the rounds. It's almost like work, but not, because, hey, it's like the last day of school, guys. That's what it's like. We get some fireworks. We can trigger now. You, of course, do have the Asura gates. They salute as we walk near it. Does the door open? No, I guess not. And nobody's there to speak to us on the inside, so that's fine. Coming up this ramp, I doubt these guys have any dialogue, but I would be remiss for me not to check, so let's roll on up. Hello, hello, hello. In the open world, some of the more interesting ambient dialogue at Fort Trinity is here. I spent many an hour waiting for them to speak. Some of these you can't actually technically get up to just yet. So let's move out on into the courtyards. I might be doing this a bit prematurely, but I guess we'll see. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing good. There are boxes of fun around as well. We already walked past one. I guess I interact with it. Now, boxes of fun are generally... They're not exclusive to this instance. And when the game came out...
People still face challenges. I'll meet them later. Now, we celebrate.
Cool! So many! Enjoying such a great victory! Quaggan is so happy!
Slow talker. Just say, we win. Yes, yes, hooray. Now, drink more drinks.
In all my years, that's the single smartest thing I've heard a squid say.
Wait, did Ignew speak? Okay, hold on. Let me finish the box of fun comment. I didn't think that they'd speak. So there's one over there. We'll interact with it. They let you do weird things. I just wanted to say that, generally speaking, when the game came out, people triggered boxes of fun because they got them on the gem store as unique rewards from special things. So you would find them out in the open world, but here in the personal story, you get access to lots of them. And that's kind of a big special moment for 2012, where boxes of fun were kind of expensive and rare things you didn't find very much. Only to, at the very end of the game, have infinite access to them in this instance. It was a big celebratory thing. Nowadays, most players won't appreciate that because a lot of us tend to have boxes of fun that they've built up over the years. But yeah, that's the thing that's going on here. Much more interesting. Check it out. The 5 lesser races, all here, united. This kind of implicitly says something, and that's that all 5 lesser races were aided by the Pact all at once, that all story decisions, even though Caraflower could only choose one, all of them actually did take place. So, Sharshu.
Ooh, Commander! Quaggan congratulates you and the Pact. Quaggan has learned a lot by joining the fight. Quaggan will need that experience if Quaggan wants to lead.
Oh, you're going to try and lead, Sharshu? Well, I'll see the day. Glad to hear it. I hope we see more Quaggan in the Pact soon. Who else we got? Ignew. I kept my vow. I slayed countless risen to avenge my brother. Fighting dragons makes the world safer for my people. When you or your Pact need us, we will aid you. Thank you. Now, please relax and enjoy the celebration. Several of these characters will have roles to play in the future, by the way. They're not like 2-bit entities just for the lesser race arc. They will go on. Really. It's a really cool thing. Lagula. I love all the different heights here as well. I heard a minstrel singing about how we ogres tried to tame Zhaitan instead of killing it. It makes us sound like fools. If I see him again, I'm going to tame his mouth. Man, I don't think that makes you sound like fools. I think that sounds awesome. That minstrel's onto a cool idea for a song. There needs to be like a fan art song of that. The ogres that tried to tame the Elder Dragon. Just don't kill him. It spoils such a festive occasion. We got Fatok Chak. Pact party. Yes, yes. Victory. Fun. Shiny, shiny, shinies. Commander is my best friend. Ever. Oh. Underground Rock Dragon next. Yes, yes. Can't have such a new scratch go boom like old one. I know, man. Well, look, Primordus was the first to awaken. He might have gathered the most magic. He might be the most dangerous. Don't worry for Tokchak. Your new scratch will be safe. And then lastly, we got Gara. I've seen more than I ever dreamed possible. The dragon wielded godly power, but the Pact destroyed it anyway. I have much to think about. Much to share with my people. There will be time for thinking later. Right now, we celebrate. I love this bit with the lesser races. I really do. It's a shame their tribes aren't with them, but the leaders at least, and seeing them all together. Brilliant touch. Hello, everybody. Hello. Look at the huge dance. Do you remember when we first came here? How grim it was having to lock our own allies out?
To the toast among champions, to Marshal Traherne, and the cleansing of ore.
To the end of Zhaitan. The dragon had a good run, but was no match for us.
No match for the commander, you mean? To the Dragon Slayer! I, to the commander, the marshal, and the entire Pact. Drink!
So this selection of Norn might be a little bit harder for you to recognize. You should at least recognize Fibhar, though. Several of these others likely appearing in the tournament and other areas that they've appeared. Let's start with Fibhar. I hate to muscle in your victory, Commander, but this is just the sort of thing that will redeem my legend once and for all. Fibhar, the champion, is back. This victory belongs to all of us, Fibar. Enjoy your beer. We got Esmit. All the spirits of the wild are watching, Commander, and they approve, especially Raven. The wit and cunning required to defeat Zhaitan, breathtaking. We didn't really do much wit and breaking. We rammed an airship down his throat, but that's fine. This is the live combat victory revelry. I'm going to find someone as comely as I am and see how many heads we can turn. Okay, I see a rash of strained neck muscles in this party's future. We got Yerd Bladeborn. My slight build makes the bigger and bulkier here think I'm at a disadvantage. Ha! Body weight means nothing in a drinking contest. A fighting heart and an indomitable spirit bridge any gap, do they now? I'm pretty sure little people tend to be lightweights, but okay, you're hardly a little person as a big-ass Norn. It's just a comparative thing. And Pierre is massive. Like, look at this dude. The next time we slay an elder dragon, I'm going to fit it with a bridle, strap on my spurs, and ride it clear around the world. Hey, listen, you need to go have a conversation with Lagula over there. Save a place for me. The view would be fantastic. Riding an elder dragon, guys. Watch closely, Commander. Pierre and Weird just challenged me to an ale quaffing contest. I'm going to put them both under the table if anyone's taking bets, because my money's on you. This is great. Would we really bet on her? I mean, maybe. Is anyone over here? Doesn't look like it. No one around the docks. Okay, so moving on. Do we want to go towards the box of fun? A couple more people? Some more fireworks? And yeah, like, when I see this gate, I just think sadness. I just think all the giants that were originally charging us there and just, you know, what came from that. So we can actually press F to travel. This is a really weird interaction. Now, I think what's actually going on is we're supposed to go to Traherne and then we come here. And then this is like your way to leave. We will leave by pressing F to travel. I think that will be interesting to see later. But for now, I'll leave that. That's so strange. Like, the whole game, they never really do that. F to travel by going through a door. F to hit a loading screen. But I am curious to interact with that in a second. Let's go over to the box of fun for a quick second now. And at least press F on one of them. It doesn't seem anyone else wants to speak to us around at these docks, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So yeah, we press F, and this one gave us special dance moves. So this is like when you're a Silvari, your dance is a specific thing. But if you get these dance moves, you can do different stuff, right? So you can do the dodge step, the inventory shuffle, the gear grind, or we can stop dancing. And we also get some fireworks at the same time, so that's quite nice. Looks like the sun is actually setting here on the celebrations. That means the pie is just getting started. Let's move on up now and go more in a direction where the story wanted us to, which is to find the Marshal, who we all know is a bit of a loner, but surely he's celebrating with someone. He wasn't really celebrating when his wild hunt concluded and we cleansed and there was a bit of a celebration going on. Is he still not celebrating with people now? Well, I guess we'll see. So, just being sure, did we speak to everyone here? Inkblood, I don't remember speaking to you. How's it going? Inkblood and Amphib? You just missed Amphib doing all her best tricks. She usually doesn't like parties, but even she knows this is a special occasion. Want me to wake her for an encore? Not necessary, I'll catch up with her later. Oh, look, she's asleep. But if I interact, I can actually wake her up. I'm sorry, Amphib. I'm sorry, go to bed, all right? Look, maybe I've had a little bit too much to drink and I'm not being, cautious enough with you. All right, so let's move on. Who we got over here on the right? We got Gix, Almora, and Real. So, let me just say, this actually disappoints me here that the devs did this. Real is supposed to be a secret master of whispers for hundreds of years, for decades, right? You don't know who the leader of the order is. And in this final instance, we blatantly have the three of them together. So the question is, all right, does Gix and Almora know the significance of the person they're currently partying with? Let's go have a look.
This is truly remarkable, and so I shall remark upon it. We have achieved the unthinkable.
We've all been thinking it, Gix. It took the commander and the marshal to make it happen.
There's plenty yet to do. More dragons to confront, and I'm delivering an important lecture in the morning.
Listen to yourselves. I swear, spies and scholars, this is a victory party. Shut up and start having fun.
Okay, so the dialogue so far, they don't. Let's speak to Real. She says, 1 down, 4 to go. May they never see us coming until it's too late. I think one of the slight variations in dialogue here is based on which order you join. They might greet you slightly differently. So for Caraflower, we can speak to Gix. Quite the soiree, Commander. Since you've gotten such good results as Pact Commander, the Priory can spare you for a little while longer. I'm sure you'll make up the time later. Okay, so we get an excuse to not hang out with the Priory immediately. Let me say, we're going to take that for granted, because the next long chunk of story, we're not necessarily going to be associated directly with the Priory. No, I actually think that's regrettable, but hey, there's a discussion for later. Absolutely, once the Elder Dragons are all dealt with, we'll go back to the prey. So anyway, there's Gix. I love how he says he's got a lecture in the morning, right? Like, this is just a small thing for these guys. They're so busy. Almora, you and the Pact have done well, Commander. I'm glad to be part of it. May this be the first of many such celebrations. Agreed to victory and the Pact. So, they're with real... but they don't actually get revealed to have known anything. I just think it would have been cooler if some of the second layer down Order of Whispers NPCs were here instead of real, or at least amongst her. But hey, I guess players that are in the know will have something to smile about here. Let's not forget the submarine dock. We got more cool NPCs here. Do you guys want to chat? It's Demi Beetlestone. How's it going, Demi? It's an honor to meet you, Commander. I'm Demi from the Order of Whispers. I'm not as high profile as the Preceptors. Well, you know what I mean. But on behalf of all of us, thank you. I'm not sure I do know what you mean there necessarily, but you're welcome. Obviously, Caraflower missed out on the story of adventuring with her. I don't think our dialogue would be particularly different elsewise. But there she is. We get Demi. Demi, who actually becomes a more prominent character going forward than you might expect. Let's look down at the sub. Look, there's loads of NPCs here. This is nice because this place is usually quite empty in the open world. Ha! There's a prior explorer doing laps down there. I guess this is like the pool, right? If there was like a pool party. Oh, and they're not alone. Look, there's a Vigil Crusader swimming at the same time too. This is definitely where I'd be. Look, it's even got that nice like blue kind of glow. I'd be sitting here with my shoes and socks off, like my jeans rolled up to my knees, sitting here having a beer. That would be so nice, man. This is the place to be. And the music's just a little bit more dim down there. Oh, gotta love a pool party. Okay, so it doesn't look like anyone has any actual dialogue down there for us, but seeing them do laps is definitely nice. Moving up. And crossing over to the other side of this here. If we can actually jump over the railing, that would be nice. Yep. Oh, I thought someone was crying, but it was this guy laughing, or this girl laughing, sorry. All right, so that's fine. Ah, yes, we get Caravan. Now, this place is actually pretty cool because we get access to a service. So this is the door that's usually shut, and we go through it.
Is pressing laundry. That's why you're the Iron Legion.
For the Tribune Thorblade? You bloodies really are crazy. He hates that joke.
So what? Brimstone and Desert Grave laughed. 2 Tribunes pro, 1 con. The joke's funny.
Can't argue with that. Not when whiskey's a calling. Come on, funny girl. Let's have another.
Oh, man, I adore that. That's so cool. We get a little bit of story into some of the higher rank aspects of Char culture. And it's an okay joke. Ironing for the Iron Legion. It's cool to see these two both survive. Galena, this is our Romeo and Juliet, and they actually make it. I was actually trying to set some of you guys off on like a tangent and misdirect you a little bit, throw a bit of a red herring when we were previously playing with them, as though they might be the ones to die, but it tends to be people around them that suffer casualties. Snarl and Galena do make it through the personal story. Snarl, he growls at me all the time, in battle, in victory, in defeat, whatever. I think he's got a thing for me, but it's hard to tell with Ash Trash. I'm not getting between you two for any reason. Good luck, though. He's totally got a thing for you. And Snarl says, stick around, Commander. Galena will never admit it, but she's head over tail in love with me. For a bloody, she's surprisingly subtle about such things. Either she's subtle or you're wrong. Either way, have fun. You wouldn't want to be wrong when it comes to child dating, right? What was I saying? Yeah, Caravol this is. Usually we're separated by a loading screen here. And this serves as something like a home instance away from your real home instance that can update a little bit. Well, once we beat the game, you'll remember this dude, Quartermaster Hargrave. When we first got here, we did speak to him, and he talked about weapons. He talked about being a vendor of some kind. Well, look now. He says, the battle's over, but the war isn't. Before you get yourself a hangover, get yourself a fine weapon. We say, what have you got? And look, he has some stuff for sale here. So this is Pact gear here. And you'll notice it's using a currency called Pact Victory Tokens. Now you notice it's a weird color. That's actually representing legendary items. These aren't really legendaries or have anything to do with legendaries. I think it's just to accentuate the point that it's a special reward. But basically, you used to get Pact weapon tokens for beating the story in a mail. I'll discuss more in a second. And the idea is we'll be able to come back through this door at any point after then, and we can actually purchase one of these. This is very closely simulating something, again, Guild Wars 1 did in these celebratory instances, where there's a special skin set you get, like, at the end. Unfortunately, though, the Pact weapons are easy unlocked through other means in the game, and they're not as special as they could be. If it was really one Pact weapon per story completion, and if the devs really were smart about this and they added a rare collection in our collections tab to do that. You could encourage people to play the personal story quite a lot. Like, it would, how many weapons are there again? 13, 16 times, whatever it is, to actually get the full set. I think that would be really cool. Some of you guys are going to think that's hideous and grind and stuff, but the whole thing is built on loads of different branches, and at the end of the day, it's optional cosmetic replayability, which is totally in line with the Guild Wars 2 ethos. In any case, yes, that's what Hargrave is, and now we've unlocked his actual vendor. Over here, we get to Sylvari at the care, of course. Oh, they're not going to speak. It's Afanan and Hyrule, though. Afanan says, the Pale Reavers are with you, Commander. Winning wars and celebrating victories. Wherever you need us, we'll be. Look, so the Pale Reavers will return in this story. They have more to say. Glad to hear it. They were obviously instrumental in taking out Zhaitan, and they'll be amazing against any other Elder Dragon. They are incorruptible by the Elder Dragons, so why would we not use them? Glad to hear it. There'll be plenty of both in our future. And Hyrule says, if you and Apatia hadn't rescued me from the crate, I would never have lived to see this. Will you join me in a toast to her memory? Like, so here we go. This is a special thing because we did the Apatia story. Hyrule just being rescued from the lake and ends up here in this awesome place at the end of the game. Of course, to Apatia, we say, and we actually get to cheer. Also, my thoughts go to Siren, Tybalt, Forgul. Here we got Maddie and Leo, the cats again, the developer cats. I wonder if they have anything new. No, we could just play with them as we could before, and they like roll on their back and do their little love hearts and stuff. There you go. We'll do a little play with the dev cats there. Okay, cool. No Sire here so far, not where we originally met her. Or, well, actually, Caraflower didn't meet Sire here, but a lot of people met Sire here. So, yeah, we move on through. Destiny's Edge. It looks like they've grouped up in the center area here now. And they have the same dialogue from the start, so we don't have to go through that whole thing. It's interesting to think below us is the pool that people are doing laps and swimming in. I never really think about that while I'm standing under this glass. This is like a glass bottom boat in a way, actually. That's weird. And it would probably be a bit creepy to walk on. Like that gif of a dog trying to walk on a glass floor and freaking out. All right, so another box of fun, which we open up there. What do we get this time? All right, so now we've just been tinted a weird color. Isn't that fun, guys? Very fun. And, well, we get the 3 order reps right towards the end. And now, all that's left, really, is to find Trahearne. Hey, Sire. Last time we came to this gate, Sire appeared here. This time she appears here. I hope purely for celebration now. She says, you continue to impress me, Commander. None in any of the Tetsios houses has ever taken down such an imposing target. No one ever has taken down such an imposing target. As far as we know, I mean, in the last Elder Dragon Rising, could one have died and been replaced? I shall be watching to see what you accomplish next. That would be a hell of a revelation to find out, right? When you say that, it sounds like a threat. Only a fool would warn her prey with a threat. Unless that threat was part of the plan, of course. But enough of such things. Go, Commander. Celebrate your victory. I don't know whether I really trust the Lagos, even still at this point, you know. It was only recently we saw them slaying Coden. I hope you'll join us and stay where I can see you. Yes, maybe just let's not go in the water again for a while. We certainly don't know much about the deep sea dragon and what it might think of the events of today. Okay, so, yeah, let's head on up to the airship, once again docked. Is this like the presidential airship, if you will? You know, this is like this should be the glory of Tyria now. How cool would that be if they'd actually managed to get that to dock here? But the thing is, the glory of Tyria is so huge, I don't think it can dock here. It would be totally stuck on those rocks and probably not work very well. So, yeah, let's move up. I'll check the inside just for a brief second. Don't think anyone will be here. Yeah, Trahearne is alone, again, behind the door that's closed. Dude, you should celebrate, man. Jeez.
The pale tree guy.
Hiding from the crowds, Trahearne. That won't do. The world needs to see the Pact Marshal celebrating.
Not hiding, my friend. Thinking. Completing my wild hunt lifted a weight from me, but Zhaitan is still a terrible threat. Now that threat is truly gone, it feels like the sun has finally emerged after a cold, endless night. I can't help but wonder, what's next? Now that we formed this unstoppable alliance and tempered it in battle, where do we take it?
To the next challenge, the next victory. There are more Elder Dragons to confront, and now we know how. We know they can be defeated. First, we celebrate. We won, Marshal. It would be a crime not to stop and appreciate that. Come on, there's an army of people and an ocean of libations waiting. All of Tyria deserves to share this triumph, including you. Join us.
Yeah, we know how. We just throw airships at them and then they get destroyed.
The world owes you a great debt, Commander. As long as I am Marshal of the Pact, I will see that debt honored.
Oh, thank you, Traherne. How are you going to honor my debt? How, I wonder? So I'm really tempted to speak to him, but while he's still moving...
My only regret is that I was not there to see Zhaitan fall. But I shall look forward to the skulls celebrating your triumph.
So that's a really interesting line, because it does reference the fact he's not in the story mode, even though he could have been if the fight had been longer.
Congratulations, Commander. We've earned the right to set down our burdens for a time and celebrate.
Indeed we have. Indeed we have. So look, he's coming to meet Destiny's Edge, and we'll get something very cool here, guys, now, all right? The final cutscene of the game.
Zhaitan's defeat has saved many lives. More importantly, it has restored hope to a desperate world. The dragons are not stars in the sky. They can be counted. They can be fought. One day, we will kill the last of them. Only then will Tyria be safe. This is a new beginning for Arah, and for Tyria. A clear sky after a long storm. This is a dawn that Tyria shall never forget. This day is ours.
Us, Destiny's Edge, and Traherne all together in that cutscene at the end. I also love that shot which looks at Lion's Arch with airships above it. A shot we saw in one of the early trailers, but never actually appeared as a story beat until that cutscene at the end there. I like the devs sort of looking back at that. And so, yeah, we get this nice last fly through of Fort Trinity, all the things we've created, the fireworks in the sky, the confetti falling as we scroll on through. So when we get control back now, in a second, we're going to find we're listening to a song. The song is Fear Not This Night, the song said to be the Pale Tree singing to her children, the song that meant so much to Guild Wars 2 as a game, and, you know, had its amazing Chinese translation and stuff. To look at our rewards, though, maybe it won't trigger until I hit this. We get even more bags of loot. Now, this is going to be relevant for our gear going forward, so I'm happy to have that. We get a Mentor's Kit. This is basically a ton of items that give you free, quick, easy levels and early exotic gear if you make an ult. It's a mechanism to encourage you to play through the game again and see branches that you may have missed the first time, interact with newbies again. We get a Pact weapon container. Now, remember the tokens that I was talking about earlier and exchanging them for weapons? That's all gone now. Instead, you just get them from this container. Bit more streamlined, I guess. We get a hero's chest, which will be like experience and stuff. And lastly, we get this, the Gaze of the Lich. Look at this with ore runes. It's an exotic level 80 headpiece. Really powerful. Look at its stats compared to what I'm currently wearing. This is actually gear from the explorable mode of Arah. So when the game first came out, you absolutely could not get Arah explorable dungeon gear unless you really worked for it. It was a tough as nails dungeon and you needed a lot of reward currency from it to get the armor. But now, the first one's kind of for free as a token of good faith, I guess, from the devs. And now that the rewards are so restructured, things are easier to get. And similar to the Mentor's Kit, which is suggesting, hey, maybe make an ult, this is suggesting, hey, maybe it's time to look at the dungeons now. So here, look, the Gaze of the Lich. You get this kind of scary face over the front of us there. If you go back through the game now and beat it on a medium armor character, you'll get the medium headpiece. And if you beat it on a heavy armor character, you'll get the heavy headpiece. They won't ever go to give you the shoulders or the chest or whatever. Those you actually do still need to work for, and quite rightly so, I'd say. So, with the headpiece equipped, the song playing, it's our chance to just sort of chill out and relax. Tran says, I know you're probably tired of hearing this, especially from me, but thank you, Commander. We've come a long way and have a long way to go. But for now, this is a well-deserved respite. I agree, and we'll deal with the other dragons the same way. Together, we say. So you'll notice there that we did just get a mail and our green starburst came back. At the top right, we have a new objective. That is the game now leading us to Future Story, the live updated stories that they added after release known as Living World Season 1. But interestingly, the mail here didn't always do that. Back at launch, you got a totally different mail that was concluding the story and giving you the Pact token you would spend in Care of All. Funnily enough, I held on to that on my main character when I first beat the game, and still have it in-game. So even though most players will, like so many other things, miss out now, I can still show you what the true original ending mail was. And it reads, Personal thanks. Commander, as I've stated many times, the Pact's victory over Zhaitan would not have been possible without you. I could confer upon you a host of richly deserved official commendations, but I'd rather offer my thanks as a friend and grateful peer. With that in mind, please accept this token. Present it to Quartermaster Hargrove and he will offer you the pick of his finest weapons. Whatever you choose, know that it is a symbol of my personal gratitude and esteem. When the Pact next takes to the field, I look forward to wielding Caladbolg alongside you and the weapon that commemorates our partnership. Your friend, Traherne. And there you can see we can receive the actual token. So by gosh, Traherne, next time I see you and we're fighting together, I will be sure to use my Pact weapon. It's a nice mail, really, and I regret that a lot of people don't get to read it anymore, particularly those who feel animosity toward Traherne for stealing some kind of spotlight. Something I absolutely don't agree really happens in the story, but at least he's so friendly in this last mail, maybe he'd win a few of them over. Speaking of cut stuff, missing stuff, right now, as we wander around, you'll notice the lighting is kind of dimmed a bit. What that's really doing is making room for what should be a credit sequence scrolling over the screen right now. Don't believe me? Well, here, look, this is a video I just pulled from YouTube. Many thanks to Lanif Master for uploading evidence of this. There should be a credit scene going on right now where we get to look at the devs and offer enthusiasm and applause. But it's broken. Yeah, the dev's own credits are bugged at the moment, and I don't know for how long since. Certainly, I remember playing this instance about half a year ago, and they were definitely still here. But what a shame. They should be roughly about to finish. We've spent enough time in the instance now, had they actually been scrolling. Which brings us to one final thing. Who remembers way back at the start of the series, one of the first things I said would be paid off later, that I wanted you all to remember and keep in your minds? We were at a party in Divinity's Reach. Well, it's time.
Ta-da! Okay. What'd I miss?
And here he is! Hello, Wozmak! He says, well, this is clearly the place to be. A suitably enthusiastic crowd for Tyria's best traveling magician. Hello, people of, say, where am I anyway? So he starts at the party at the very beginning and in the same instant appears here at the very end of the story. He skips out on all of the trouble, all of the issues at Divinity's Reach, all the stuff at Lion's Arch, the entire game, the fight against the Elder Dragon, boom. He's time traveling just in a direction that isn't particularly helpful and also moving through the material plane. I'll tell you what, a spell that moves you from like last year to now is kind of insane. Magician, eh? Well, yeah, I guess you're at another party. It's good to see you again. Magician, eh? Show me something then. Dazzle me. Certainly. Now, let me be clear. Most scholars agree that a different hue constitutes an entirely different trick. Purple is quite distinct from mauve or aubergine or violaceous. Just get on with it, Trixie. Alright, so there you go. Look, he changes his colour. Oh, I remember this. Look, see, I guess you don't have too many tricks then. Well, that was really nice. You still, he says, well, this is clearly the place to be, blah, blah, blah. You still owe me a trick, a real trick, not a colour shift. You wound me! The subtleties of magic-driven chromaticity are, well, never mind. If you're a bird lover like me, perhaps this will be more to your liking. Sounds good? Make with the avians? And he gets attacked by the birds? Oh, no, Wozmak! So, that's not, that's not an accident. That is the trick. I'm not sure that's good enough, man. I'm really not. Can I demand another one of you? You're 0 for 2, Wozmak. What else you got? Oof, Fort Trinity is definitely what we in the biz call a tough room. Alright, get your dancing shoes on because it's time to party like a flock of giant birds. This better be good, we say. And hey, look, he summons a ton of Moa. I see the avian theme continues. They become like phantasms, start spinning. There's explosions and fireworks. All right, this isn't too bad. Look at everybody dancing. Look at Mr. Sparkles dancing. That's a hell of a dance there, man. I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that. And Traherne dancing. Oh my god, for once, Traherne being happy. This is actually really bizarre to see. Jeez, man. We interrupted him by speaking to him. I'm sorry, he didn't even have any new dialogue for us. Well, okay, Wozmak, you definitely seem to have warmed the room up. You're in Fort Trinity, Magic Man. Settle in and enjoy the party. So there you go. Wozmak is the final, like, Easter egg, a hidden thing at the end of the game. If you listen to the full song and you watch the credits that should have been scrolling, well, this is your lovely reward. So, last thing, let's come over to this gate. Let's press F on it and see what pressing F to travel does. Do you think it will take us straight to the loading screen, or it will throw up a dialogue window? You're about to leave the story area, it says. Return to the Straits of Devastation. And there you have it. So, there you go. That is the end of the Guild Wars 2 2012 release story. Feels a bit hollow and weird now. Very strange. Like I don't really know what to do with myself. This really is how players in 2012 came out of the story, standing here in the Straits of Devastation, the borders of Fort Trinity, wondering what comes next. And it's important to know we had no real sign. Had they not finished the whole story before release, I think that the community would have been on a really clear understanding as to what was coming next from ArenaNet. Ori and updates, the Elder Dragon fight itself, and so on. But as it stood, the big direction, what dragon would we go for next? What are the consequences for this domestically? How is the peace treaty going with the Char? What are the Inquest up to? Will a hero of the Norn ever break the tooth? Will the spirits of the wild lead the Norn home? These were matters to be settled at an unknown time in the future. Pretty exciting, right? And I do intend to show us that journey. Make no mistake, some of you guys in the comments have been a little bit confused about this recently. It's just that this series, this playlist, this presentation, Guild Wars 2 2012, I have done my best to show you in its fullness. This is a complete package now. Where we go from here will be their own adventures on their own terms. God, this is so strange to be saying. I suppose I need to outro. How do I even begin that after so long? Look, all I can say is this. Thank you. Thank you so much to anyone who has watched this far through this much of the series. It's been a hell of a ride. A lot of episodes, a lot of long episodes. I really hope you've enjoyed my presentation and my attempt to grab together all the disparate aspects of lore and developer information and over the years trivia to create something cohesive. And I hope that if you followed this through with me, you got as much, if not more, enjoyment out of it than maybe when you were playing yourself and perhaps rushing or focused on other stuff. So yes, it means the world to me if you're still here watching this video. You've sat with me through so many hours. A lot of people tune in for episode 1, a lot of people tune in for episode 2, but the people who listen to me right now, you're my kind of people. You're the ones with the real crazy attention spans, and I couldn't appreciate you more. I did know, honestly, starting out, how crazy, ludicrously ambitious and long this project was. But finally sitting here at the end, ready to return to Divinity's Reach, to go home, feels so surreal, like it was a thing that would never eventually happen. I just thank you so much. If you're watching this series on the playlist view, you should notice that over the coming days, and particularly if you're watching in the coming years, there should be a couple more videos on the playlist. They won't actually be regular episodes of the LP, but I do want to take you through some of the behind-the-scenes aspects of producing the series that might be somewhat interesting to you. The main thing on many of your minds is probably what's next? And that's a perfectly valid question that you're asking that probably a lot of players of Guild Wars 2 in 2012 would have asked themselves now at the end of the story too. And what's the answer to that? Well, endgame. And endgame for ArenaNet, right when the game came out, was dungeons. We have seen the story modes, but we can return now for the explorables. There is another series I will be producing of not many videos. It shouldn't be that long, probably less than 10 parts. Where I want to take us through the explorable adventures. That will expand on the lore, and I seriously recommend you guys who enjoy this series stay tuned at least for my adventures in Arah. Some of the story you find in Arah Explorable is super important and underlines a massive amount of the plot that will come on in the later years. Once we've done the dungeons, we will be going ahead with Season 1, Season 2, and beyond. And an interesting thought, it's only at that point with those stories that we'll finally be doing stuff that wasn't free to play. Everything you've seen up till now and beyond with the Dungeon series, every second of this series has been available for free to play accounts. It's kind of nuts how much content there is here. Honestly, I feel really tongue-tied. I'm not sure how properly to outro this. We've spent so long getting here, and I feel like anything I say is just going to come across as really limp. So, just, once again, thank you. I hope that this was worth it. I hope I did something good. And I'll be very happy to see those of you who come on for the new series, the new adventures down the road. Do you know what's weird? Episode 1 of this series launched on March 18th, 2018. I currently record this on March 16th, 2019. What a year it's been. In that time for Guild Wars 1, I'd covered all the first 3 campaigns, I think. I'm rambling. Thanks again. Cheers, guys. And I'll see you next time.
Ah, I followed the light, of course.
Fear not this night, you will not go astray. Though shadows fall, still the stars find their way. Awaken from a quiet sleep, hear the whispering of the wind. Awaken as the silence grows in a solitude of the night. Darkness spreads throughout the land, and your weary eyes open silently. Sunsets have forsaken all the most far of the horizons. Nightmares come when shadows grow. Eyes closed and heart beats slow. Fear not this night, you will not go astray. Though